Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City Council meeting for Farmers Branch, Tuesday, June 6th. We're going to get started with our invocation and pledge. Invocation is going to be delivered this evening by Councilman Jackson. So if you would please stand. Oh, before that, one housekeeping. No,
Thank you, Mayor. Just quick housekeeping, just to remind yourself and the council and folks in the chamber here. We had a power surge sometime in the last 48 hours, so we've lost some of our equipment upstairs. So we're not able to live stream this meeting tonight. Those at home who do want to tune in can watch on Vimeo or YouTube. We are recording, so we'll post this video tomorrow, but we're not able to stream it on our website tonight. And we don't have the ability to include all the PowerPoint presentations and the videos once the video is posted. But we are recording and we are on the air, just not on the website this one time. So thank you for the inconvenience.
thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that.
So, Mayor, before we begin our prayer tonight, I'd like to start out with a moment of silence, remembering D-Day, June 6, 1944. About 2,500 American soldiers and just over 1,900 Allied soldiers' lives were lost in liberating northern France. So if you'd please bow your heads with me in a moment of silence, and then I'll say the prayer. Lord, we thank you today for allowing us to come together as a council and as a community to take care of community business. And we just thank you for the freedoms and the beauty, the quality of life that we get to enjoy every day. And we don't take for granted that that is a gift that you have given us. We thank those lives that have gone before us to give us the freedoms to make decisions that impact our community. We thank you for the opportunity to listen to residents and carry their voices through our ability and powers to make policy. Lord, we ask that you be in this room tonight, you be in our hearts as we discuss important matters. And all these things we ask. Amen.
Amen. You'll join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you all for coming this evening. Next is item E1, which is consider accepting a donation in the amount of $1,800 for the Branch Connection from the Farmers Branch Women's Club and take appropriate action. So the Farmers Branch Women, first of all, we have representatives. So the Farmers Branch Women's Club, organized in 1963 as a nonprofit organization providing philanthropic support to the Farmers Branch community through volunteer fundraising. With the help of donations from local businesses, supporters, and club members, the Farmers Branch Women's Club supports local causes and provides scholarships to deserving students in the CFB ISD. This donation this evening by the Farmers Branch Women's Club demonstrates their continued support of city programs and particularly their support of the Branch Connection. So with that, would you like to say a few words?
Oh, I can.
All right.
I think the envelope is up here. I don't know where it is. You have it maybe. There it is. Thank you. Yes, the Women's Club spends the entire year raising funds in order to provide scholarships and to give back to some deserving organizations. And so this is from us and from these ladies and the rest of our members to support the Branch Connection.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So it really is with tremendous appreciation that we accept this on behalf of the Branch Connection. This item is marked for action, and so I will make a motion to accept the donation of $1,800 as presented.
Second.
Do we have a second? Councilman Roman? Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Would any of you other ladies like to say something? All right.
I was just gonna say, we're always pleased. We love our city and all of the organizations that we have. And it's our pleasure to do this.
Well, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. And I know the Branch Connection will really appreciate it also. Okay. Next on the item, on our agenda is item E2, presentation of a proclamation declaring June 3rd, 2023 as Pride Day. So in putting this together, I issued a proclamation that was read on Saturday at an event in Carrollton. And if you'd allow me, I'd like to read that now. This is a Pride Day proclamation from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer communities of the city of Farmers Branch are an integral part of the vibrant culture and climate of the city of Farmers Branch. And whereas the diverse LGBTQ community continues to contribute to widespread academic, economic, and social spheres within and around our greater community. And whereas the month of June was designated Pride Month to commemorate the Stonewall riots, which occurred in June 1969 and are generally recognized as the catalyst of the LGBTQ rights movement. And whereas the city of Farmers Branch is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ people in our diverse community. And whereas while society at large increasingly supports LGBTQ equality, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas this nation was founded on the principle that every individual has infinite dignity and worth, and the Farmers Branch City Council and Mayor calls upon the people of this municipality to embrace this principle and work to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists. And whereas celebrating Pride Day influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for the LGBTQ community and is an opportunity to take action and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Farmers Branch City Council and Mayor hereby proclaim Saturday, June 3rd as Pride Day in support of the LGBTQ community. Signed by Terry Land, Mayor. Councilman Roman?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a few remarks. From the moment that I launched my campaign in January of 2022, I promised myself and my family that I would run while being true to myself and being my authentic self as well. Unfortunately, I haven't always been in a place where I felt free to do that. And I know there are still other people out there in our own community who still feel that way. One person even saying that they would rather be dead than to be gay. Unfortunately, this is a common feeling, but let me reassure you that society as a whole is evolving. And if you don't believe me, let my current position of being elected as the first openly gay city council member for the city of Farmers Branch be a testament to that. Today, I stand before you with immense pride and gratitude as we gather here to celebrate an important milestone in our community. It is with great pleasure that I express my heartfelt appreciation to Mayor Terry Lynn for his unwavering support and for issuing the city's first Pride Day proclamation. This decision to proclaim this day as Pride Day sends a powerful message of inclusivity and support. By recognizing the importance of this day, you not only demonstrated your commitment to promoting equality and diversity, but have also given a voice to those who have long been marginalized and silenced. The proclamation itself holds tremendous weight, and it serves as a beacon of hope, reminding us that our city stands united in its dedication to fostering a society where every individual is celebrated, respected, and given equal opportunities. It signifies a commitment to creating an environment where love, understanding, and acceptance prevail. The impact of this proclamation reaches far beyond a single day of celebration. It reverberates through the hearts and minds of countless individuals who have struggled to find acceptance and embrace their true selves. It encourages them to walk with their heads held high, knowing that their city supports them unequivocally. Thank you again, Mayor Lynn and City Council, for your commitment, support, and friendship.
So next on the agenda is items of community interest. Okay. All right. We're going to move on. We don't have any at this point. We will be getting back to report on study session items, which is the next item. Or do you have presentation?
We do.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes, ma'am. We do. Sorry about that. Items of community interest for this council meeting of June 6th. We want your honest feedback on the City of Farmers Branch, and we'll be able to provide it starting next week during our National Community Survey. Postcards and survey packets will be mailed out starting next Monday. That'll be June 12th. Please complete your online questionnaire promptly so that we can collect your input. Also, research shows that summer reading programs can prevent summer learning loss. The Manske Library Summer Reading Program is now underway. The quest begins. Have your young readers stop by to choose a character, collect a bookmark, and dive into a book. The program runs through July 31st. Also, mosquito season is here, so help us fight the bite. Standing water is the #1 culprit. Dump it daily. You can also pick up free mosquito dunks and bug spray right here in the lobby at City Hall. Are you planning a garage sale this summer? Don't forget to register it with the city. The law requires that all sales be registered at least 24 hours in advance, and that registration must be posted at the sale. Residents can register at farmersbranchtx.gov. If someone in your family is preparing for U.S. citizenship, don't forget that we have citizenship classes in the Manske Library every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. Get your application at the library or call 972-268-0322 for more information. And get ready for some Zydeco. Tickets are now on sale for the June 10th Denton Drive Live with Roots Southern Table annual crawfish boil. The concert is free, as always, and you can buy all-you-can-eat dinner tickets online for $40. Details at DentonDriveLive.com. Would you like to raise some chickens and have fresh eggs? Then join us at Manske Library this month for Backyard Chicken Basics. We'll welcome an urban horticulturalist from the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Office who will host a backyard chicken 101 class on Saturday, June 17th at 1 p.m. And also, why not celebrate Independence Day in style? A limited number of VIP cabanas are still available for the Independence Day celebration here on July 1st. They're decorated with a patriotic theme, with Adirondack chairs, a cooler, and a VIP parking pass. The July 1st Independence Day celebration will feature a spectacular low-level fireworks show, live music by Empire 6, a free kids zone, and festival food favorites. Admission is free for Farmers Branch residents with a Firecracker Fast Pass and only $5 for non-residents. And as always, you can sign up for City e-News at farmersbranchtx.gov. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jeff. Next is report on study session items. We had our study session this afternoon at 3 o'clock, covered a number of items. The city is getting ready to go through its charter review process, and we're in the process of forming a committee for that, and they will be meeting regularly throughout the summertime and into the fall. We also discussed citywide single-family property assessment that was done by a company called Master Plan. Many of you may have seen their vehicles driving through our city, surveying property, and they put together a very extensive report on the condition of property throughout the city, almost 8,000 homes, and provide an assessment of needs and conditions of property, et cetera. And that has been presented to the council. We received a general update from code enforcement regarding just how the department works and the process that's involved when notices are given to residents. So I guess the most important thing to remember is that there is a process. And just because you turn something into code enforcement doesn't mean it's going to get taken care of the next day. There is a process, and people who receive notices of violation have different amounts of cure periods, time allowed to them to satisfy whatever infraction that they were cited for. And then, of course, our code enforcement manager reviewed the process of what happens after the cure period if action has not been taken. So we went through that. There was also discussion regarding traffic calming measures and the process to request those, which include stop signs or any other type of sign, a traffic signal, or even a road hump. And so there is a policy established for that. And I would encourage you to do your own investigation on city website for that. If you have any questions about what happened in the study session, hopefully tomorrow you will be able to access that on farmersbranchtx.gov and see our recording of that proceeding. And that is all that happened there. Oh, I'm sorry. We did discuss some future agenda items. And let me get to that. So Councilman Roman brought up the possibility of rezoning Luna and Valley View. Wanted to have further discussion about converted garages and possibly amending a noise ordinance. I brought up possibility of moving study session from 3 to 4 and then council from 6 to 7, but we'll have some discussion on that before we take any action. And that is all that took place during the study session. Again, you can go to farmersbranchtx.gov to watch a video of that tomorrow. Next is discussion of the state of the city. Does any council representative have anything they'd like to discuss? No? All right, thank you. We'll move on. Next is consent agenda. Oh, that is right. I'm sorry. I was reading ahead of myself. We are going to receive a presentation of economic development, seasonal update from Allison Cook. I didn't mean to overlook you.
Hey, that's okay. Alrighty, I want to show the seasonal update, but I'd first like to thank the Parks Department. So we do not do this alone, although on the video it looks like we take all the credit. We have a lot of large soccer tournaments that come to town, stay in our hotels, and the Parks crew help with the fields and everything else. It's all behind the scenes. So I would like to make certain that they receive their due and their thank you. Right.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the city's economic development update for late winter and early spring of 2023. I'm Jeff Brady, and we're going to start this time with our tourism team's big announcement. That's why we're here at Brookhaven Country Club. As many of you know, it is a legendary property founded in 1957 as the very first under the Club Corp brand name, with a golf course designed by golfing icon Byron Nelson and a huge tennis program. But now Club Corp has a new name, that is Invited, and Brookhaven Country Club has a new mission, that is hosting the 2023 National Pickleball Championship right here in Farmers Branch. It's a cross between tennis, badminton, and ping pong, invented near Seattle in 1965. For 3 years running, pickleball has been the fastest growing sport in America, with almost 40 million players in the U.S. and a market size of more than $150 million. This tournament will be the world's largest, serving a field of more than 3,500 amateur and pro players and attracting more than 25,000 people over the course of 6 days in November. ESPN and the Tennis Channel will provide live coverage. The economic impact for our city could be enormous.
We're very excited about the national championships coming here to Brookhaven.
To accommodate an event of this stature, Brookhaven is undergoing a $2.5 million renovation, updating the overall property and adding new pickleball courts with the intent of hosting the same tournament for multiple years, as well as other pickleball events.
We're very excited about just the announcement of that taking place. And I think we're very excited about the opportunity to really make long-term improvements for our membership and our club. Ultimately, we look to finish up once everything's completed and built with 35 tennis courts, indoor and outdoor, as well as 32 pickleball courts, indoor and outdoor as well, as long as 5 clay courts, some racquetball courts indoors. So we really want to be the home of racket sports in the DFW area.
The November Championship will offer a concert, fireworks, live music, as well as amateur brackets and clinics for new players at the national tournament. The Dallas Sports Commission, the PPA, and USA Pickleball worked together with Farmers Branch and Invited to bring the event to the Dallas area with the intent that the benefits will ripple across the city and beyond.
So this is going to be the largest pickleball event ever. So it's going to be really cool. It's going to bring in over 25,000 visitors into our city and into the community. And so they'll be able to experience everything Farmers Branch has to offer: our restaurants, our hotels, our community, and the renovations at Brookhaven Country Club. Our hotels are already getting phone calls about staying in Farmers Branch because we're the closest to the event site. So we do have some room blocks that we're reserving for all the guests coming into town, but we should sell out for that week. So it's going to be really exciting for our hotel partners, as well as the tourism department, and being able to, be a place for people to want to come to play pickleball.
Another major announcement for Farmers Branch: business travel is back and bigger than ever. In fact, October was the best month ever for the city's HOT, or hotel occupancy tax revenue, with a total of $332,000. And that eclipses the previous record set in April of last year. Corporate travel, Bloom and Bluegrass, and the Texas OU weekend contributed to that total.
When you stay in a hotel room, you pay a tax, and a portion of that is paid to the city as the hotel occupancy tax. Last April, we generated $295,000, which was our largest collection to date. Just a few months later in October, we beat that and actually went over 300,000. So we do see this trending upwards, and we see it consistently getting better each month.
Youth sport tournaments continue to drive the local economy as well, with the Lacrosse President's Cup in November booking 704 room nights, the Turn-It-In Conference in January at 1,399 room nights, NCAA Cheer in February for 1,341 room nights, and the Dallas International Girls Cup in March with another 1,300 room nights. Our economic development team has been busy too, fostering business growth in Farmers Branch. Local wine and beverage company Scout and Cellar expanded with a tasting room and retail store in November. The multi-level marketing company has seen phenomenal growth since launching its clean crafted wine in Farmers Branch in 2017.
We came to Farmers Branch in partnership with the city because we love the location. We love what the city of Farmers Branch is committed to and doing in terms of growing, and we love being here. And so we came in the fall of 2018's winter of 2019. This is our first kind of customer-facing location that we're launching today.
Welcome you all to our Dallas tasting room grand opening.
In Mustang Station, Bankhead Brewery will soon occupy a prime location along Valley View at B Street. It's a DFW brew pub known for craft beer and quality food.
We are a brew pub, right? By definition, we are a hybrid of a restaurant and a brewery. So unlike other typical breweries where you go to, you might only see a lot of focus being on the brew itself, which is awesome. We love that as well. We kind of tend to focus a little bit more on the food side, right? The way we like to think about ourselves is we are a restaurant that happens to be brewing world-class, like award-winning beers, right? We are a family-friendly, pet-friendly, food-first mentality brew pub. So that's kind of like the wholesome experience that we want to provide.
Farmers Branch will be the third Bankhead location, following Fort Worth and the original in Rowlett. Renovations to the property will begin soon, and the Mustang Station location should open later this year.
Since we're a brew pub, we're not in a production facility and making the same beers all the time. We cover everything. You name it, we could probably find something for you. Our most popular is probably our Mexican lager, Adios Muchachos, 5.5%, easy drinking, goes great with food. So that's been our highlight on the menu. But I think the nice thing that we get to do here too is the food, right? So the pairing of the beer with the food, it really puts them all together. And they do such a great job with the food. I think everyone will really enjoy the pairings that we'll have.
Last year also marked the kickoff of the city's 20-year comprehensive plan. In partnership with professional consultants at Stantec, our planning department has hosted 9 workshops across the city to gather citizen input on how the city should develop over the next 20 years.
So we're in phase 3 of the comprehensive plan. We held meetings on May 9th, 10th, and 11th, and it was really to engage with the public. We want citizens' feedback. We actually want business owners' feedback as well. We got good feedback from the citizens, and we're now going to work with our consultants to put all this information together, finalize the last chapter of the comprehensive plan. And that's mainly the implementation chapter of the comprehensive plan. After that, we'll actually take it to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their recommendation on the document, and then ultimately take it to the City Council for final adoption. This study and all the information we've gathered is going to make a huge difference for the city of Farmers Branch.
All in all, the Farmers Branch economy has been remarkably vibrant in late 2022 and the spring of 2023, demonstrating a solid economic footing and exciting developments ahead. Construction has already begun here at Brookhaven to get the property ready for its national debut as the epicenter for all things pickleball in the fall.
The partnership's going to be wonderful with the PPA as well as Invited. And I think that partnership that we already have with the city of Farmers Branch is we're going to leverage both of those so that it's a success for all parties involved.
And that'll do it for your late winter, spring 2023 economic development update here in Farmers Branch. As always, your city's economic development and tourism team has put in a lot of hard work to serve up some winning projects here in Farmers Branch. And we'll be back in the fall for a look at your early winter 2023 economic highlights. Until then, I'm Jeff Brady. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
I don't think that one actually has bloopers, so I apologize. Maybe next time. But I will let you know that we will communicate and over communicate with all the details of the pickleball situation in November. That's at Brookhaven Club this summer as we have the details to put out. And I thank you for your support for all the great projects we get to work on. And I'd like to thank Jeff Brady and his staff for putting that together to highlight some of the good things going on past several months. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Allison. Exciting stuff. Okay, next on our agenda is approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mayor, I motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mayor, I'll be happy to second that.
Very good. Thank you. We have motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, if you would please indicate your vote. All righty. Motion approves unanimously. Thank you. Next, I'm going to move citizen comment up to the next spot on the agenda. And first to speak will be Pamela Silver. All speakers, when you come up, please state your name and address, please.
I want to first say congratulations, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Councilman Baird. I'm delighted you are now sitting in those chairs, and I look forward to seeing great improvement in the functioning of our city. With that, also, I would like to double down on a couple of items that I haven't been able.
Can we have your name and
Oh, I'm sorry, Pamela Silver, Millwood Circle, Farmers Branch, Texas. I want to double down on that by just revisiting, since I haven't had the chance to do it due to a funeral in the family, on a couple of items that you have not heard now that you are on the council. First off, the speeding. I know that you say you're working on it. I can't say that we're really sensing an improvement in that area. Nothing against the police department, but one particular item is the 18-wheelers that roar down southbound on Josie Lane are not going to help our wall continue to stand once it's rebuilt. I'm afraid after this next rebuild, and by the way, 80% of that wall was damaged and is going to have to be replaced. We have ordered the block. It's not going to be in until probably late September. This will be the last rebuild we do of this wall. If someone damages it again, it will not go back up. We will have to come to a meeting of the minds on what we do from there. Nonetheless, the speeding is still out of control. We are now, as a result, involved in a 8-way lawsuit with the families of the 2 kids that hit that wall. I don't think any of y'all want to have to go through that yourselves. So I'm going to ask y'all to please consider a way to protect that corner. It is more dangerous than most other corners because of the crosswalk. And 90 minutes later, children would have been in that crosswalk on Good Friday. If that doesn't make you shudder, I don't know what would. It's not about our property necessarily, but we're up to the property line. Whatever has to be done on the city side. As far as our neighbors, I listened to, that was a beautiful presentation that Jeff Brady did. I'm glad to see the business from the pickleball coming to Farmers Branch, long overdue. I honestly had a coworker tell me 2 decades ago that that was a poor man's country club. I disagreed because that's where I grew up. I am delighted to see that they are investing back in our community and making it a focus. However, when I hear 20-year plan and I look at what we are living next door to, it is disappointing that the degradation of our neighborhoods are allowed by people coming in who think they can run their commercial businesses from our neighborhoods. So I really would like for you to please consider that these ghost businesses are not invisible. This guy has done irreparable damage to the property he's at and intrinsically to our property. And he is running, he has a car, he is paying his people out of a paper bag in the circle. You tell me that doesn't have other implications. So y'all need to please consider what this is doing to our community because other people are going to follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Dr. Noah Cruz.
Dr. Cruz and Heather and Rob Bush should be signed up under our agenda item. Can they go
I'm
with
sorry.
us?
Okay. I apologize. It was mistitled on the form here. All right. Next, we regular agenda items. Item K1, receive an update from the Family Place.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Jawari, Attorney, Chief of Staff, and today we only have updates from each one of our nonprofits. We will bring this item back on our next meeting to approve or look at and review our funding amounts for these. So with this, we'll start with the Family Place.
Hi, good evening. My name is Cody Pinkham. I'm a program director with the Family Place. First, I just want to thank the City of Farmers Branch for y'all's continued support. So as you probably know, the Family Place is an organization that aids victims of domestic violence. We provide a multitude of services. Our mission is the Family Place empowers victims of family violence by providing safe housing, counseling, and skills that create independence while building community engagement and advocating for social change to stop family violence. So all of our services are free. So we provide counseling, advocacy. We have 3 shelters, including 1 for a men's shelter, which is only 2 in the country. We have our B project, which provides education in the school systems. We have our Dignity at Work that helps our clients rebuild their resumes and help find jobs. We also provide legal services. And we also have our battering and intervention program that works with the perpetrators of domestic violence as well. So all of our as I said, all of our counseling services are free. We work with all ages and genders. Oh, sorry, thank you. And most of our counseling services are used to provide like short-term crisis stabilization, but we can extend services depending on the case. And we also provide group and group services as well. So we provide for adults and children. We offer domestic violence education, parenting, processing, and then incest and familial sexual abuse recovery as well. But we also introduced CPS groups specifically recently. We also provide advocacy services. Specifically, those help clients with court advocacy, protective orders, crime victims compensation, divorce, custody, and also providing any assistance with rent, utilities, and connecting to any of the community resources that they may need.
Hi there, my name is Vanessa Baum. I'm the program director for B Project, our teen dating violence prevention program that works in schools. We're in Dallas, Grand Prairie, and Carrollton Farmers Branch ISDs. We work a lot in health classes as teen dating violence topics are covered by the health TEKS. We saw over 5,000 students last year, including those in your schools. We saw about a little under 200 in our support group. So outside of our health classes, we also provide support for students that need a little bit more intensive services. So predictably, those are also smaller groups. Instead of 30 kids in a classroom, it might be 6 or 8. Of that 186 that did support groups with us last year, the vast majority were CFB ISD students, is where we have our strongest support group programs. And that was specifically at the request of school counselors for CFB ISD, who saw a need for more of those small support group services. We provide support as well for parents, teachers, school staff, youth serving professionals, educating them about teen dating violence. We also have an annual scholarship that we award to students, $1,500 scholarship that have been through our B Project programming. And they submit an application, go through a whole interview process, and it's to the students that seem the most committed to kind of furthering healthy relationship messaging as they go on to college. And one of our winners for our last scholarship cycle was a CFB student, Emily Derrick of Newman Smith High School. Some quick results of what we do. Before B Project, 64% of our students were able to identify abusive behaviors, whereas after, 93% were able to identify those behaviors. 80% of students could describe ways to help a friend in an abusive relationship before B Project. After, 96% of them could describe how to help a friend in an abusive relationship. And lastly, our budget for the Family Place for this year is just over 16 million, and the Farmers Branch contribution of 15,000 will represent 0.09% of our revenue budget. Thank you.
Council, any questions?
Please. I do have one question, Mayor. Thank you very much. The $16.4 million budget, is that covering just the school district you spoke of earlier, Kelton Farmers Branch, the Grand Prairie?
That is our entire agency budget for the Family Place, providing all domestic violence services. That includes our counseling centers, our emergency shelters, all of our programming. The budget for the school-based programs is around 300,000.
Okay. And so is this a national program?
No, it is just for the Dallas area.
Just for the Dallas. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is receiving an annual update from MetroCrest Services.
We'll have Mr. Tracy Eubanks to come and present on behalf of MetroCrest Services.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Mr. Williamson. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. Thank you for years of support, decades of support, and especially during the last few years when we've been exceptionally busy as demand was very high during the pandemic. A quick thanks to, I have a number of volunteers with me today, some of our board and advisory council members, some staff members. Until I look back, I guess we'll call them the Red Wave and the MetroCrest Red Wave. So thank you very much for being here to support me. And thanks Council Member Roman for being our liaison. So just a bit about MetroCrest. I know we've served Farmers Branch for over 50 years, but we continue to evolve. Our vision is to provide pathways to a thriving community for all, and our mission to provide hope through programs that lead to self-sufficiency and foster independence, articulate our commitment to going beyond just the transaction, providing a single service such as food, but to focus more on the path for our residents to move beyond economic distress. Our core values on the screen, I won't read them all, but they illustrate how we believe we should conduct ourselves daily. And we know we can always do better. I'm particularly focused on start with a yes attitude in our sector, dealing with a lot of families that need help, that have stories that you cannot possibly imagine. Finding a way to get to yes to help those families can be difficult, and our staff does an amazing job doing that. So a bit about our model. We've talked about this over the years. The model continues again to evolve and change as we add new components, but it's all about that path toward independence and self-sufficiency. Most of the folks that come to us come because of a crisis. It's because there is housing insecurity, food insecurity. It could be a senior who's lost their power. It could be a young family without food or threatened by eviction. And we want to make sure that we help with that crisis. But the real work is to engage those that we serve with wraparound programs, a plethora of programs that can lead to a path of independence. And this includes things like financial empowerment, where we work one-on-one with families on budgeting and creating spending plans, increasing assets, reducing debt, working on credit scores, improving credit scores. It's about employment coaching and job readiness. That could be conducting job fairs, hiring fairs, one-on-one coaching with our staff. It could be educational and certification opportunities. We work closely with Dallas College. We have two programs in place, a GED program and an ESL program, which will be expanding as we move to our new facility. It's about seasonal programs. That could be, for instance, Sac Summer Hunger, our summer feeding program that we just launched this past Saturday. If you ever love to volunteer, we'd love to have you do that. We'll serve over 700 kids each Saturday with a week's worth of food. These are kids that are in school or missing school because for the summer, and we're replacing their breakfast, their snack, and their lunch. We also have added homeless resources or homeless response, something new for us over the past year or so. We've seen a rising, an increase in the number of homeless individuals in our communities. On a daily basis, we probably encounter, on a weekly basis, encounter 25 to 35 homeless individuals throughout the Metro Crest area. We have 2 employees in that department, and we have a street outreach team of volunteers that are just absolutely amazing. And then we have senior services. Some of those are specific to seniors, such as home delivered meals, rides to the doctor, but also helping seniors avoid eviction, keeping the lights on, delivering food, which is something we started in the pandemic as well. So that is the programs we put together that we believe help lead to a path to self-sufficiency for our families, independence for seniors. This is kind of a history, 6 years history of the number of Farmers Branch residents that we have helped each year. You can see obviously a huge spike during the pandemic in fiscal year 20 and 21 specifically. In 2023, we're projecting assisting just short of 4,000 Farmers Branch residents, which is about a 3 to 4% increase over 2022. It's not on the slide, but for fiscal year 2024, we believe will serve about 4,100 Farmers Branch residents. And as you can see, there's a pretty significant increase over pre-pandemic levels. And so we're kind of normalizing at a level that is much higher than the pre-pandemic area. One of the programs I want to mention specifically was what we call Safe and Sound, and I'll talk more about this in a moment as it relates to the contract. But this is a program that actually was initiated by this council, by Farmers Branch Council and staff about 5 years ago, I believe it was. It was a pilot program intended to offer longer-term support of rent and food to families in Farmers Branch who had children. And these are families that are willing to commit to long-term support, not just in the sense that we're providing food and rent assistance, but a year's worth of financial one-on-one coaching and working with our employment teams. All these families, again, had kids, and those families that had children in school, 100% of those children were able to remain in their home school, which is a pretty significant determinant of whether or not the level of academic success for those children if they're able to stay in their home school. So we're proud of that program. Again, full year financial coaching focused on asset increase, debt reduction, credit score improvement, et cetera. And to graduate from the program, you needed to be self-sufficient when you left the program and paying your own bills. Just a picture of a new facility that we're building. All of you are aware that we opened the new home for Metro Crest Services after 52 years of leasing at Josie and Beltline. We should open. I'm going to say sometime this summer. I think that's safe. So sometime this summer we'll be opening our new location. We greatly appreciate the financial support that you provided us for that project, as well as our other partner cities. We greatly appreciate that. We are talking to other nonprofits, such as the Family Place, which presented a moment ago, Woven, who presented last month, and about a dozen other nonprofits who we would like to offer some form of space at our location so that our clients and the community have easier access to services. Services that we don't provide that we believe, though, would help those families have a greater opportunity for success. I won't get caught up on this slide, but I could talk to you all day about our strategic plan, and it was great to hear about your 20-year comprehensive plan that you're working on. This is something that our team and our board worked diligently on over the last 2 years. We released this back in March. And honestly, in the 10 years that I have been there, this is the first long-term strategic plan that we put together. We're very excited about that. It highlights our commitment to an integrated approach to delivering services with economic stability being the ultimate goal. And I won't read them all, but the key components for us, the integration piece is providing nutritious food as well as nutrition education, housing stability, keeping people housed in affordable housing that is affordable to them. Economic stability is all about jobs, about education, certifications. It's about financial literacy opportunities, healthcare access. Again, that component that we're not in the healthcare space, but we know we need to provide access to those that we serve. And hopefully this new building and the complementary partner program we're putting together will allow us to bring in some partners there. And of course, senior services, about 10% or so of the clients that we serve, the people we serve, are seniors. Excuse me. So we appreciate your consideration of our funding request. As you know, there are two contracts. The first, our service contract, as you call it, is a request of $227,060, which is a 5% increase over this prior year. We spend about $2.6 million. We expect to spend about $2.6 million in 23-24 on response in Farmers Branch, supporting Farmers Branch residents. The funding, if you approve the $227,000, would represent about 8.8% of all that we will spend in Farmers Branch. We will raise the other 92% through private funding, through individuals, churches, civic groups, foundations, etc., businesses, the corporate partner. Our overall budget, we believe in 23-24, we're about $12.7 million, and so the $227,000 represents about 1.7% of our budget. The second contract is the Impacting Childhood Homelessness, which is essentially the Safe and Sound program. It got rebranded in the contract at some point over that 5-year period. And so that funding request is $29,920. I do want to mention something since I think I'm on time. Just a quick story of a Safe and Sound family. Farmers Branch mother of two came to us in 2021, mostly working part-time or seasonal jobs. She'd been struggling since the beginning of the pandemic, like a lot of folks had. She became part of our Safe and Sound program and began working to obtain a full-time job and managed her finances. With support from MetroCrest, from our workforce program specifically, she completed a certification program, was able to find a job as an office manager, earning 30% more than her previous job. When she successfully graduated from the program, she was able to increase her savings and greatly reduce her debt with her higher paying job. Her son also graduated from high school here locally. We're able to set her up through her success with the nonprofit called Dwell with Dignity. They do full home renovations for families that are in need, and so she qualified for that, providing her new furniture and organization for her home. Our team loves working with families like this. We appreciate your support of this program. Being able to support families for a little bit longer term often makes a difference between them being able to move forward or stay where they are. We appreciate the opportunity to present tonight. We'll continue to collaborate with the city and continue to collaborate with all of our nonprofit partners. And thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Tracy. I do have one question, and that is on the Housing Empowerment Program. How many people have been in that program and have graduated out of it, if you will?
That's a great question. I don't know if we know the history of that. Anybody throw out the number to the beginning of time? Yes, yeah.
I can give you a general number. I can give you a specific later, but I would say on general.
You tell me. Yeah, just tell me. No. Okay. Yeah. We had, we started the program, I want to say in 2018 probably. And when we hit the pandemic, then families that were, graduating in less than a year were in the program for 2 or 3 years. So 30 to 40 folks.
Okay.
Individuals, families.
Okay. Well, we'll continue that discussion.
Yeah, sure.
All righty. Council, does anybody have any questions? Councilman Jackson?
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to MetroCrest for the place they've held in our community for many, many years. Just one question. The thing that's different about MetroCrest is that they focus on getting a family back on their feet and being self-sustaining without having to have ongoing services for a long period of time from MetroCrest. I think it's a great model. is there a requirement or an opportunity for those that have graduated, like the story you just told, how the lady had gotten a new job and was making 30% more than she was before?
Yes.
Is there a requirement or an opportunity for them to come back to MetroCrest and actually serve or volunteer in some way?
No requirement. It is common. Not only do we have folks that worked with us for maybe a short period of time or a long period of time that come back to volunteer, we also have them come back to donate. And so when we meet with families, they get to know us quite well. We build relationships. It is common for, well, it's common for all of us to say, I'm going to go volunteer, and maybe we don't follow through like we would, but we do see a lot of that. Yes. Not a requirement though.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Roman.
Thank you for the presentation, Tracy. I think for me, I want to understand a little bit about what the need is. So I've got a few questions to hopefully help me identify what the need is for the funds that you're requesting. Can you help me understand what change might our Farmers Branch residents experience should you not receive this funding?
So, and I know we've had a little bit of a conversation about this, so I look forward to sharing that. So I think the nonprofits that they're still behind me would agree that one of the things that's really important for the long-term sustainability of a nonprofit is to have what I'd call a diverse funding pie, where you don't become overly reliant on one funder or funding source. And so while this funding from the city of Farmers Branch, like the critical funding we get from United Way, for instance, is important to us. It is money that we can use to help keep somebody housed, keep somebody fed, help someone find a job. We are committed to serving the residents of Farmers Branch, no matter what, not you specifically, but what any funder decides their priorities might be at that time. You find in the private foundation funding sector that the priorities might change. It could be something happens where they want to help animals instead of helping people all of a sudden, and we've lost that funder. It's up to us as fundraisers to make absolutely sure that the people that we serve don't suffer because of a funding priority decision. And it does happen periodically with our cities and our other government agencies, such as the county. We would strive to do all we could to not allow the people we serve to receive less in services from us because of a reduction or loss of funding. But there's no doubt there's an impact on probably the less critical type services until we can backfill that. We're always looking to backfill that. I'm telling you more than you want to know probably, but as a nonprofit who doesn't receive a lot of government funding historically, we start every year not knowing where 80% of our funds are going to come from. We know about 20%. We know we have some people give every month. We have some contracts like United Way. We may have a multi-year with you like we've had in the past. But on October 1st every year, we got to go find 80% of our funds. So if we know that, for instance, City of Farmers Branch was adjusting their funding, the sooner we know that, the better, because we've got to go find a way to backfill that so that the people that we truly serve, Farmers Branch residents, are not impacted.
Okay. And have you explored alternative sources of funding apart from the request that's being made now? And if so, what efforts have been made and what was the outcome of that?
So I think, and this would be a great opportunity as our liaison, maybe to come and sit with our fundraising team to talk about that. We, all day long, and many of you get emails from me, so I apologize. I raise money all day. Mike, who oversees our grants and compliance, he's going to write he and his team going to write well over 100 grants. We're constantly researching new opportunities because unfortunately we are in a growth sector. We are growing. We don't want to be growing. When you're in the poverty business, you don't want to be growing. I'd like to be out of business. So every day, because we don't know where the money's going to come from, we don't know what decisions might be made by a funder, we've got to be hustling every day. So we're writing more and more grants. We have more and more individual giving. We have a change maker program so that if you give it to us every month, at least we know that's coming in. We're launching a corporate change maker program. So companies, we have a few of them now that can give to us every month as part of their give back to the community. We don't really rely on events. We do big events, but you don't want to be relying on events for your funding, but you want a diverse funding source. So you ask about what the outcome is. We're doing this all day, every day. This is not new. We're not going to go say, okay, what are we going to do because we lose this particular funder? We're doing this all day, every day. A nonprofit, if the family place is still here, they'll say it. They would say we can never have enough money. We're always short. And when you start every year imagine you starting every year with not knowing where 80% of your money is coming from. It is a difficult thing.
So would would you agree with me in saying that MetroCrest Services definitely has a need for the funding request?
MetroCrest Services definitely has a need for the funding request.
Okay. So I know we had a conversation back in November, and one of the remarks you had made was that you weren't going to be relying from the city's funding, from the City of Farmers Branch's funding moving forward. Will you help me understand what you meant by that?
What I said
That's been
was,
part of the part of the struggle that I've been dealing
sure, I
with.
understand. And I think maybe we miscommunicated with one another, or maybe I miscommunicated my point to you, which is what I said a moment ago, is that we cannot be reliant on one funder. We've had a partnership for City of Farmers Branch or other partner cities for many years. I don't know of a time when we did not have some form of fundee relationship. I'm sure it's happened at some point where we didn't receive funding or received less or more than anticipated. So relying on it is something we can never do of any type of funding. We just can't do it. It's not responsible. It's not fiscally responsible for us to be able to rely on funding. And so every year, if it's a every year activity in terms of me coming up here, or it's a 3-year contract, which would be awesome, or a 5-year contract, I think all of us would love that. We need the money, and we'll need it year after year until we find that poverty in our community, evictions in our community, food insecurity in our community decline. We're going to be here every year because we're going to have the need. So I apologize for any miscommunication, but we definitely need the funds.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All righty. Well, Tracy, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for all that you do for our community.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Next up is K3, receive an update from MetroCrest Chamber of Commerce.
We have Hayden from MetroCrest Chamber to come and present.
Didn't mean to scare you. All right. I want to start by saying thank you, Mayor Lynn, council members. Really appreciate this opportunity. Ben, I want to specifically say thank you to Richard Jackson, who's our liaison. Thank you so much. I'll thank you, Jawaria, for introducing me. My name is Hayden Austin, President and CEO of the MetroCrest Chamber of Commerce. And I don't want to just introduce myself, though, because I do not do everything that this wonderful chamber does. We have a lot of people that support us. So I want to introduce our board, our staff that's here, some ambassadors and members. I asked them all to be here at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night. So I'm going to ask them to at least raise their hand. If you're staff, ambassadors, board, or members, please raise your hand. Hold it real high. Yeah. Thank you. Very appreciate it. All right. So we do have great support, and that's because they love the City of Farmers Branch. They love what we do here. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate that. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to read our mission statement. The purpose of our MetroCrest Chamber is to create economic prosperity for our members by providing programs, resources, and support that assist and benefit business, government, and citizens, resulting in a vibrant place to live and work. Providing programs, resources, and support being the most important that we focus on. How do we do that? Through our vision statement. To facilitate the connections that create the region's most productive business and community relationships. So I want to just quickly expand on this slide and say that, in the 21st century, we see that cities are being pushed more than ever to keep up with rapid advancements in technology, extreme population increases, and the world of business evolving post-pandemic. The MetroCrest Chamber wants to specifically help our 3 cities and the businesses in them to work through all 3 of those realities. All 3 of our cities have been staples in the Dallas area for many decades. All 3 have hit high growth demands in the past few decades, and now they have the opportunity to revitalize, redevelop, and flourish for the next several decades. And the MetroCrest Chamber wants to help our 3 cities do that. I just want to remind you, we have several associations that keep us accountable as a chamber. We're part of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Association Chamber of Commerce Executives, Same thing for Texas, same thing for North Texas Association of Leadership Programs. We, of course, run our leadership program we have for 33 years. And then we'll also be joining the Texas Association of Business TAB, which is technically the state chamber here later this year. So this is how all of our staff, our board really stay up to date on practices and make sure we're industry compliant. This is our 3-year strategic plan that started in January of 2020. So that was really neat. A couple months later, when all of the bullet points that would go under these things kind of were thrown out of the water. But we are wrapping up on that, and we are about to start embarking on our new 5-year strategic plan. Should wrap up or should go out towards 2028. I'll speak more on that in a minute. But these are our 4 pillars, and if whatever we're doing doesn't fall under one of these 4 pillars, and we don't do it at all. We make sure that it goes under one of these 4. All right, so let's talk about membership. I want to pull back the curtain and be real honest, because I stood in front of 3 of you last May. So some of you don't know this, but last May I was 7 months into the job, 6 months into the job, really. We had gone through staff transition. We had gone through, well, no staff at all, pandemic. We had gone through a lot of trouble. And when I got here, a lot of cleanup needed to happen. So I'm here to be transparent. And since day one, the members that we have dropped, we have unfortunately had to bite our tongue and drop 450 members off of our database. But I will tell you that less than 40 of those were members before, let me make sure I don't say this backwards, before less than 40 of them were members after, my start date. The reason 400 of those members were dropped is because certain records fell through the wayside when we were down to 1 staff member and they were doing their best to keep the chamber. So yes, we have dropped 452 members, but we've also gained 200 members since in the past year and about 8 months. Today actually checked and we're at 202 since September of 2021. And that is due to our members being excited about our chamber coming back after the pandemic. It's due to our staff, to our board, our ambassadors, specifically Miss Mary Ann Burns, our membership director, who couldn't be here tonight. She's with her grandbabies in California, so she does a great job. Today, we have 424 members, 95 in Addison, Carrollton 164, Farmers Branch 61, and 10 plus cities make up of about 104. They love coming to this area to do business. We represent 26,000 plus employees in our 3 cities. We're very proud to do that. We have 11 board members and 6 ex officio members. So what are some highlights of 2022? I'm going to read through these real quick. I'm not going to touch a lot on all of them, but I had to clean up I not alone. We had to, clean up our CRM, event database, billing, member directory. All of that had to be cleaned up and retrofitted for moving forward. We got us a brand new website. 2022 was our 2nd highest income year since 2016. Very thankful for that. We moved into a larger office. Our events came back. 94 total networking events last year with a staff of 1.5. We were very proud to do that. 5,000 plus in attendance, 51 ribbon cuttings, 121 event sponsors across our membership, 107 new members. And then we hired our new staff member who's here behind me, Megan Holloway, who is our events and marketing coordinator. We said, okay, we took care of events for 2022. Now we can focus on what we need to, which is membership. But if we didn't get those events, then no one would come and hang out. So we're on our track in 2023 to make our membership proud. Chamber challenges, staff 1.5, right? We increased, very proud of that. We're looking to increase again next year. Board transition, we had half our board roll off the moment I walked in the door, so that was interesting. Members' expectations, learning them with a new staff, and then location. But what's most important is what we've heard from our members. And that is they're having problems just like everybody else in the U.S. staffing, work-life balance for employees, post-pandemic expectations. And then these last 3 are really have really come from our membership: the need for employee education and professional development, the need for young professional involvement, especially post-pandemic, and then volunteer opportunities. Our for-profits want to get out there and serve the community, and so we're trying to partner with our nonprofits to make that happen. All right, I want to point out two quick things on this event or on this page. I'm not going to read through all this. You've got 2022 up top, 2023 on bottom. If y'all look at this later, or if you already have, you'll notice we have an increase on almost every single annual event. We are very proud of that. Almost in some areas, almost over 100 people in attendance. I will also say that our business expo, we had 28, not even 30, sorry, that's a typo, 28, I'll tell on myself, businesses last year. This morning, we had 49 sign up, and we still have a few more days for sign up. So we're super excited about that. And then I have Farmers Branch highlighted both years. We keep two of our signature events. Each city gets two major signature events in their city. And so we're very proud to produce those this year, especially for the leadership graduation at Brookhaven and Mayor's Forum that will be at VOOV. Same thing with quarterly events, or kind of increase. Actually, our quarterly and monthly events have stayed right where they're at, which is great for those monthly events. We did add Chairman's Circle back, though. That's the highest level of investor, and we held that in Farmers Branch this year at Brookhaven again. So we're proud to do that, to give back to the Farmers Branch community. But we're also adding a lot of events. All the events with asterisks and that are highlighted are added this year or will be added in 2024. After hours opportunities for members to come, a membership 101 class so they get the most out of it, an education class or a monthly education luncheon, excuse me. And that will start in 2024. It'll replace one of our networking lunches, and then morning coffees we're very excited about as well. All right, so some of our programs and resources that are really helpful. Our ambassador program, we have about 20 ambassadors right now. They're our volunteer team. They are wonderful, and they get a lot out of it and also help us run this chamber. Our Leadership Metro Crest program class 32 graduated. I know there are some graduates in the audience tonight, specifically from Farmers Branch. I am going to point you out, Tom Higgs, congratulations. And there might be a couple other that I might be missing. I apologize. I just saw him when I walked in. But we graduated them at Brookhaven Country Club this year, and we're so proud of them. We are making sure that we have youth involvement in the chamber. We don't quite have a Chamber of Commerce club at any of the high schools in CFB, but we are making sure to invite youth to all of our events because we want them to be strong participants and get a lot out of that and hopefully interact with us later down the road. We have business resources, certificates of origin, community newsletter opportunities, social media, the partnerships with economic development. Had lunch with all three of them this morning. Thank you, Allison. And then the things that our city staff, what I've heard time and time again, and city councils, they really appreciate coming to events to network with all three cities and to solve problems with all three cities. We just provide that opportunity, and we're proud to do that. All right, but y'all want to know about Farmers Branch, and that's why we're here tonight. So let's tell you specifically what we've done with you, what we look forward to doing in the future. 2022, 10 new members, 91 individual engagements, not including our larger events. We have given just under $25,000 to event venues in Farmers Branch. So we are proud to invest that. And then in our budget in 2022, I can tell you this formula later, but a little around $15,000 invested specifically, and that's split between all three cities. And then 2023, the new members to date is actually 8. I checked this morning. And business engagements, $48 invested since we added an event, 30 grand into the city of Farmers Branch in events. And now we're up to $25,000 invested. And that's thankful to more staff. We've got 3 board members currently that represent Farmers Branch, ex officio members from Farmers Branch City Council, Dallas College, CFB. We market the city all over our website and social media. 8 out of the 24 members from Class 32 worked or live in Farmers Branch. Very proud of that. 2022 holiday party donated over 250 toys to MetroCrest Services. Thank you for all that you do. And then lastly, I'm part of our Rotary Club. All right, I got 2 more slides. We'll wrap up quick. 2023, we do need to go over the budget. Addison for this year consists of 13% of our budget, Carrollton 7% of our budget, Farmers Branch 5%. Our total funds of our total budget is about 25%. And then events and programs make up about 42 and membership dues make up about 33. It is my goal in the future in this 5-year strategic plan to up the membership dues and events and programs to where again we are relying less and less on membership funds, or I'm sorry, ED funds. We still want to have deliverable contracts with you as a city because we think we can provide that support for you and the opportunity to bring in business and have those programs. So I don't want to get rid of any contracts, but I do want to spend your money wisely, and I want to spend the taxpayers' money wisely. So in the future, I want to look at our economic development contracts. But as far as more in depth, and possibly changing things. But just this year, I'll be honest, we're still trying to stabilize. We're still trying to bring on more staff for membership next year. And that way we can truly go after all 3 cities and provide quality services. And so for this year, we kept it pretty similar to what we've done for the past 3 years, 10K max on deliverables, 5,000 just that's in attendance when you purchase tables at our events. And then we asked all 3 cities to provide $3,000 to help us out with event costs. And so total, we asked for 15 grand last year. This year, it's 18 grand. All right, last slide. So we've got a lot of exciting things coming up. I mentioned the 5-year strategic plan. Our new CRM will allow us to, we're looking to get a new CRM for next year, customer relationship management software. It'll allow all of our members to have a much more interactive marketplace. When someone searches for donuts in Farmers Branch, our website should be right there. And when they click on it, it shouldn't just be the Donut Palace sitting right there. It should be in a multitude of resources, and Donut Palace should have a great face. So we're excited to do that. Hopefully full-time, more hours going towards our membership staff. We are transferring to membership tiers. That will be a pretty large undertaking. It won't just be, all right, you've got 10 staff, you got 10 employees, you pay this amount. There will be more investment. MetroCrest Economic Development Alliance, that is in its baby stages, but that is for members with over 100 employees to come together in one room and solve problems that affect those large employers. I talked about the next 2. We're looking at a new signature event. We now can get back together with our alumni for leadership. We've got monthly coffees and mixers. And then I know data is important to all of us, especially when money is involved, not just when you're writing a thesis for grad school. So we want to be better about tracking data so that y'all know exactly where your taxpayer dollars are going, description of businesses, referrals, engagement, exit interviews. And then lastly, something we're really proud of is that our committees, will be open to membership starting July or August of this year. For the past year, we have had to bring those back. Only board members were on them, but committees will now be able to be a part of membership events and programs, Women's Business Forum, and that sort. Okay. Lastly, it's an honor. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for the opportunity and the contract that we do have. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Hayden. Council, any questions? Councilman Roman?
Thank you for the presentation. So I just want to understand I think it's maybe 3 slides back.
Yep.
That one, yeah. So when you say dollars invested, 24K, 2 events, that means you spent $24,000 in 2 events here in Farmers Branch.
Correct.
Okay. And then for dollars invested in membership, walk me through that one again.
Yeah. So basically I took the amount of staff, divided it by, all of us kind of equally work on membership right now since we're a smaller staff. I divided it by 3 for 3 cities. And then so it would have been 45. And then I divided it by 3 again because we equally spend a third on membership, a third on events and programs, and then a third of our time on administrative tasks and things like that. So I just took that overall salary and how much time and that's how I equated that.
Okay. So is a third of your members in Farmers Branch?
No, but we equally, no.
Okay.
Yeah. but we still equally invest the same amount of membership in all three cities. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay, so I just divided the amount of salary, right?
Right.
And then divided it by three because we do a third on three different topics. One of those third is membership, and then divided that by three for each city. So I would say that each city we've invested about $15,000 into on membership services, if that clarifies that.
Yeah, I guess my confusion is one would argue that if you've got more membership in other cities, you ideally spend more time in other cities.
So we don't, I definitely understand what you're saying. We as a staff have not committed more money to any one city. The amount of members isn't a direct result for the amount of time. I would say the amount of members is a result of other factors, but not the amount of time that we spend. We don't spend extra time. We have automated resources that allow us to reach all of our members. We provide all of our events. We provide the same amount of services in each city, but we don't spend more time on one city. Not right now. We'd like to spend more time on all three of our cities. That's a goal for 2024 and beyond.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd like to learn a little bit more about your business visits. So I understand you meet with a business and you're trying to just kind of get to know a little bit more about their specific business, their service, their product, and what their needs are. Is that a fair summary?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And so, and the business visits are part of your contractual agreement with us.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And so is there a financial incentive to accomplish a certain number of business visits?
Based on our deliverable contract, absolutely.
Okay. And so who prompts these meetings? Are these typically, do you reach out proactively? Is it the businesses that reach out, or is it a little bit of both?
So we pushed heavily on this in 2020. What year are we in? 3. We started this January when Megan came on. That gave Marianne and I a lot more time to do this. And so Marianne was spending, she works 20 hours a week. She was spending half that time being able to actually do membership things. Now she spends her full 20 hours a week on membership. And so she actually is speaking to the members. She reaches out. She sets up meetings for our chairman circle, for our non-chairman circle members. A lot of the time we're interacting, but we're also blessed that people find us through different avenues as well.
Okay. And so it's not necessarily meeting just with people who are members. It's also people who might not be members but are in the city.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we have pockets of all three of our cities where in 2024, I'm starting to write that into our membership plan for hopefully our new staff. We've got hot pockets in each of the cities that we want our membership we want our chamber to actively go after, especially communities that might not know what resources we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, so I guess because there's some sort of financial incentive, you're sort of keeping a log or keeping track of when those business visits are and who you're meeting with.
Yeah, I send those to the ED department, and I would believe that would be accessible by y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So if y'all have any questions about those report, I don't know if you know that we send those quarterly, and that's how we get our funds for that. And so if I'm detailed on there, and if you ever wanted to sit down and talk through those or change, if you would like us asking certain questions when we go into those meetings, I'd be happy to sit down with you and make sure we're engaging the members of Farmers Branch correctly.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
And so when you are meeting with, let's say, city staff or council members, do those count as engagement visits or business visits?
Only if if I come up here and I say, hi, Council Member Omar, or if I come to a city council, I don't put those down. And if I did last year, I don't anymore, but I wasn't counting that, especially I've gotten more used to the contract. But if we sit down and I spend more than 15 minutes with someone and we actually dive in to helping their business or serving them as a member, then yeah, we do track that.
Okay. And then I was also kind of just looking, you had mentioned some deliverables in the PDF that you sent us. And so I was looking for a little bit of clarity or maybe understanding of, you mentioned on there, one of the deliverables is serving as an advocate for local businesses and also serving as an ombudsman. Can you give me an example of those?
Yes, so the ombudsman, excuse me, I'll start there. That is written in our contract. That's written in our contract to act not as the city by any means, but as a connector to the city staff and city council. And then the first part of your question, can you repeat the first part of your
Yeah,
question?
yeah, just how you serve as an advocate for local businesses and as an ombudsman, maybe some specific examples of some businesses that you've done that with.
Yeah, so let's start with the Vail Group. The Vail Group is a Hispanic-owned business they're an insurance business in Farmers Branch. And this year, Dallas College was wanting to write a excerpt for Hispanic Heritage Month. And so we reached out to all of our Hispanic-owned businesses in Farmers Branch. Brookhaven specifically said they wanted to do that for them. And we got them featured in one of their Dallas College articles. So that's a specific example that comes to mind. Crossbuck Barbecue, they joined last year, and we have the mixers that I spoke of and the after hours events and the ribbon cuttings that we do. Within a month from the Crossbuck joining, they had a spotlight at our networking luncheon. They had an after hours mixture scheduled, which is next week, and I hope you can be there. And they had their ribbon cutting. And so those are just some of the advocating we do on behalf of the businesses.
Okay. Can you provide me an example of some business leads that you provided to the city?
Business leads that we've provided to the city. So I'm not going to say any names, one, because I don't remember, two, because I don't think it's necessary. But with Allison, we have sent her, and I can get you this report. I know of 3 in the past 6 months. We've sent her 3 inquiries about moving businesses to the city of Farmers Branch. I don't think any 3 of those came to fruition, unfortunately. I think we would have had a celebration dinner over that. But we send Allison leads in the entire tourism department regularly. Anything specifically in the past 6 months or even the past year that I can remember that's come to fruition? No, we haven't, but we do send her leads regularly and have those conversations.
And if you had to quantify the monetary value that you bring to Farmers Branch, what would that value be?
I'd say it would be the amount that. Are you looking for a dollar value?
Well, you probably don't have that exact dollar value.
I mean, dollar value is easy. I mean, it's the contract, right? We last year, we didn't even fully max out our deliverable. We just couldn't. We didn't fully max out our $10,000 that we would get on deliverables. But I think overall as a city last year, we got a total of around 15, like I said, last year. But can I describe the value that we bring to the city of Farmers Branch? You'd like me to?
Yeah, just kind of, because one of the things that we talk about here is as we're considering some of the funding that we're going to give to different organizations, we like to kind of think about what the value is. I mean, there's another organization that asked for a lot of money, much more than what you're asking for. And when we asked, well, what's the value that you're going to be providing to Farmers Branch residents, they withdrew their application. And that's one of the key factors that I try to look at and figure out what's the value. And is a business oriented organization, and also with Farmers Branch receiving 75% of our revenue from businesses, it's important for me to try and somewhat quantify what is the value that you're providing from your chamber, because we have 2 chambers.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to understand, are we double duplicating our efforts? And if not, what is the value that each one is providing?
Absolutely. So so the way I would answer that would be we provide the regional aspect and the regional community that these 3 cities have had since, I would argue, 1960s, 1970s, when the term Metro Crest was coined. We're not even close to the same value or can be even compared to a nonprofit like Metro Crest Services, but we specifically serve these 3, add in Coppell, of course. We serve this region, and specifically our chamber serves this region because for decades it has worked well together. It's provided economic development. It's had to revitalize a loan. We're not young and new and fast paced growing like the Frisco in Plano area. We have to do a lot of revitalization down here. And so I think as a regional chamber, we bring the opportunity for all three cities to come together and provide a unique business opportunity and unique resources on a regional level instead of just one city. And I think the Farmers Branch does a great job as Farmers Branch Chamber, and Grace does a great job at specifically serving Farmers Branch. But I think we do add certain opportunities like our leadership program that's been around for 30 years, our Women's Business Forum committee Women's Business Forum committee that's unique to us, and a couple of other unique features. The fact that our four PD and fire work together on the same platform. When we continue to have these events and when we continue to bring the community of the three cities together, I think that pushes the crest of Dallas, these three cities, into a much more prominent position to bring businesses here and to continue to shine as a light in North Dallas.
Okay. And then my last question is about the $3,000 for events. So, so is that like, and pardon my ignorance, I'm just trying to make sense of it. So is that like we're paying to be like a certain level of sponsors for events, or?
No, I just, like any funder I could ask, I just asked each three of our cities, which we haven't increased our contract in 3 years, right? We've had the same contract for 3 years. And so I just simply asked for $3,000 from each three of our cities. I was sitting there toiling with numbers and I say, you know what? I was like, around 9-10 grand would help us out a whole lot when we're covering event costs. And not forever, just to get us to next year, since, I mean, our event venues, I'm sure Grace can tell you too, our event venues have skyrocketed in costs. So really that 10 grand divided by 9 grand, divided by 3 was just an ask to help us get through to next year.
I see. So it's a one-time request.
One-time request. Yeah.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your thoroughness.
Does anybody else have any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Okay. Hayden, thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity.
Your services, just like Grace's, are very important to our community and we appreciate it. Next up is receiving an update from the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce.
Grace, take it away. About to move this up. Who are you? There. Perfect. Thank you.
Name and address.
Good evening, Mayor Lynn and members of the council. My name is Grace Spees, president of the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce. We're located at 13612 Midway Road, Suite 603, Farmers Branch, Texas, and I'm also a proud resident of Farmers Branch. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening and to give you an update on the incredible year that the Farmers Branch Chamber has had supporting our businesses and community. I also want to say thank you to my board and ambassadors who are here this evening to support our chamber, including several who would like to speak and share their experience with our chamber afterwards. One of my favorite TV shows is Undercover Boss. And one of the common themes when the CEO returns to headquarters and meets with the executive team is that they've potentially been more focused on the data, spreadsheets, efficiencies, and protocols than on the real people and the value of their people behind the business. So first, I'd like to share a quick story. In November of last year, I received a call from Officer Rutherford. And he said, Grace, I think we've bit off more than we can chew. We need your help. We need the help of businesses. You see, each year, the Farmers Branch Police Department adopts a family as part of their Angel Tree program. And this Christmas, they had a family that was at great need. This family was recommended by the school district and MetroCrest Services that had been homeless and just got an apartment. It was a mother, her young adult son, 2 elementary-age daughters, 9 and 11 years old.
Thanks to MetroCrest services, they helped them get the apartment, but they had very little to their name. The mother and two daughters were sleeping on one mattress together on the floor, and the adult son was sleeping just on the cold, hard floor. Officer Rutherford said, "We want to give them a real Christmas, but we also want to help meet these basic needs." The next afternoon, he and I went to visit several businesses, one of which was Compost Furniture, and they initially agreed to give the mother $1,500 of store credit. The very next day, Officer Rutherford and our Vivian Field Resource Officer, De La Paz, met with the mother at Compost Furniture, and out of their generosity, they chose to give them 4 full bed sets, a couch and living room furniture, and a dining table with chairs, far exceeding their initial store credit. The officers told me afterward that she was so touched by that act of kindness that her children could sleep in their own beds that night that she cried tears of joy. Personally, I've never met them, but I often think about this family and what a significant impact that gesture might have had on them. I think about them sitting around their dining room table, sharing meals, laughing, perhaps enjoying family game night. It's a place where the girls can do their schoolwork. Who knows what happens at that table? But for them, I imagine it's more than just a piece of wood with 4 legs. It's a sign of hope. It's a sign of love and compassion, a sign that strangers truly care and that there is good in this world. I imagine each of us has gathered around a dining table with our families our whole lives, and perhaps it's something we've taken for granted. But for that mother and her 3 children, I believe it's more than just furniture. We'll come back to that story in just a bit. The question I want to pose is, what difference could be made if we led with valuing people and business, and not just statistics? But for those of you who love statistics, I of course have those for you as well. So we'll begin our presentation with a review of our contract for services. So the Farmers Branch Chamber's minimum business visit goal was 30 visits per quarter, or 120 for the year. As you can see, we completed a total of 291, exceeding the minimum by nearly 2.5 times. Over the past 2.5 years, we have completed a total of 750 business visits, which exceeded our total contract minimum in that same time period by 330 visits. Because we want you all to know that we are not here to do the minimum. We're here to give our very best and to serve this city with excellence. Another key component of the contract is gathering business intelligence leads. Now, this one can be a little tricky because we want to deliver quality business intelligence to the city. And that is something we cannot control or force. A business either has a need or they don't. So we worked very hard over the past 2.5 years learning what a quality lead is. And I just want to extend a sincere thank you to our city manager, Ben Williamson, and our director of economic development, Allison Cook, for their wisdom, patience, and guidance. On this next slide, you will see some examples of the business intelligence leads we have passed along over the past 2.5 years. In total, we have submitted 39 leads, ranging from permit questions, facade grant inquiries, expansion and relocation opportunities. One lead resulted in the purchase of land on Valley View Lane across from the station area, intended for development as an office building. And one from this year that I would like to highlight is Front Porch Pantry. On a business visit, one of our ambassadors, Heather Dabo, and I met with the owner, Michael Ann, and she expressed some of the safety and security concerns after a break-in at their business, and several cars were stolen from out front. And they were requesting a street light be added in front of their business off of McEwen and Welch. We passed that information along, and I also just want to give a huge thank you and shout out to the whole Farmers Branch A-team that showed up to support this business. Councilman Richard Jackson, our city manager, Ben Williamson, our deputy city manager, Mike Mashburn, our interim police chief, Jay Siegel, our director of public works, Ryan Sarter. They all met with the owners and resolved her issue quickly. This is an example of the quality of intelligence that the Farmers Branch Chamber has delivered, and excellent customer service that I know our city wants to deliver to all its stakeholders. Next, on to our events recap for 2022. Now, we run a pretty standard program of work, very similar to other chambers in the area. So I want to highlight just a few of our special events and unique programs that we offered. First, the Church Safety Seminar. This was a unique program we provided and put together very quickly in less than 4 weeks after the hostage situation at the Beth Israel Synagogue in Colleyville. We hosted this in coordination with our community liaison officer, Rutherford, director of public safety in Carrollton, Rex Redden, and emergency management coordinator, Luke Parsons. This was provided at no cost to our community and was attended by over 90 people, including both church leadership and safety teams, as well as business owners. This program was also given in Spanish to our Hispanic community at Mary Immaculate Church, coordinated by several of our board members, including Alex Segal and Jesse Castaneda. The goal of this program was to offer practical tools and support and comfort in a time of fear and uncertainty for churches. The next one I'd like to highlight right below that is our candidate forum. Each year we host this event as a value primarily to our residents, since the Chamber has a relatively transient business community. In 2022, we hosted the forum for Council District 1 and 4 candidates, and this year we hosted the forum for the mayoral and District 2 candidates at the Branch Connection with over 160 attendees. Last one on this slide that I'm going to highlight is Business in the Branch. This was a phenomenal reinvention of the traditional Business Expo, led by a team of our ambassadors who are here this evening, Rob Bliss and Deborah Cruzhart. The goal is to bring the whole community together in one fun, highly interactive afternoon that connects commerce and community. The majority of our events are geared towards our local small and medium-sized businesses and provide opportunities to network, gain leads and referrals, and offer educational resources and support in a relentlessly evolving business climate. As for our membership, we've steadily grown since taking a hit during 2020. Most importantly, we haven't just grown in number of businesses, but in diversity. You'll notice these 3 young ladies at the top of our screen who are all 18 years old in this picture, who are regular attendees of our First Friday luncheons and other events. We also have more minority-owned businesses, including Black-owned, Hispanic-owned, woman-owned, and of course, lots of family-owned businesses like these 2 young brothers. Furthermore, since launching our new member benefits program in early 2021, we have found that more businesses are choosing to invest at higher levels of membership because of the incredible programs and value we provide. Another program I'd like to highlight, it's one of our signature new programs, is Workforce Success Bootcamp, in which our goal is to empower and equip the next generation to help them be ready for the world of work, as well as serve a practical need in our businesses, many of which are struggling to hire and find staff support. Now, I have just a quick 4-second video from one of our students from this last boot camp doing a board break, and I'll give you a little summary afterwards.
Breakthrough!
Why do we care that she broke a board? Thank you for asking. We care because that is an example of confidence boosted. That is an example of our future leaders being shown you can do it. And something as simple as breaking a board increases confidence, and now they are able to step into their next task, as if to say, if I can do that, I can do this. Next, I'd like to read you part of a letter given to us in February from the executive director of Firehouse Theater. It reads, "Thank you so very much for sending the information last September for the Dallas County Emergency Nonprofit Assistance Program. In December, I was able to apply for the grant just under the deadline. I am thrilled to report that in January, we were notified that we received the maximum grant amount of $49,000. Without your referral, this opportunity would have slipped under the radar and we would have completely missed it. Instead, we found a nice piece of unbudgeted revenue, all because of you. This is a perfect example of the type of support an excellent Chamber of Commerce provides to the membership, and we want to acknowledge your strong example of servant leadership to Farmers Branch." Signed, David Moore. Now, what's fun is that was already planned in my presentation, and many of you may have noticed David Moore actually sent a follow-up email this afternoon, and I was copied on that, sharing that another grant opportunity that we sent them from the Texas Travel Industry Relief, they were approved for that grant as well, receiving an additional $20,000. for a grand total of $69,000 this year. Additionally, our board of directors approved sending out information for a vetted ERC, that's Employee Retention Tax Credit Specialist, and we've had several businesses apply. And to our knowledge, so far, we have at least one business approved to receive over $19,000. Thus, we can say with confidence, we've helped bring over $88,000 into our Farmers Branch community just through grants and sharing valuable resources in a timely fashion. You see, the work we do at the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce in this community extends beyond networking, ribbon cuttings, and serving businesses, which are our critical and primary function. But we are an integral part of the Farmers Branch community. There is so much more to share about our work over the past 2.5 years, but alas, I know we're short on time. Bottom line, when there is a need or a way we can serve or support, we step up. Let's go back to the story of that mother and her 3 children. I'll encourage each of you tonight when you go home to take a long look at your dining table. And I want you to be grateful for it. Grateful perhaps that it's always been there, that it's just a basic thing that you don't even think about. Be grateful for the clutter it collects. Be grateful for the times it served as your work from home desk. Be grateful for the business and people who crafted or manufactured it, that you didn't have to go cut down trees or figure out how to turn raw materials into glass. But be grateful for the business you bought it from with ease, who delivered it to your home. And the idea that this is what business and commerce is. It's the ability to change the world through one's ideas, craftsmanship, and resourcefulness. Being a chamber of commerce is more than serving businesses. There are human beings behind those businesses, from owners to employees. We understand that all our stakeholders matter. Our residents matter. They are our business's customers and employees. And when a city has a vibrant business sector, everyone benefits. Being the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce for us is also about giving love and hope, compassion to anyone in our community who has a need. We are transforming lives. We are transforming businesses. We are transforming this community. We are your Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Okay. All right, we do have 3 people that have signed up to speak to this item. First up is Dr. Noah Cruz. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Mayor Lynn and the members of the council. I am Dr. Noah Cruz, and I live in Farmers Branch, Amesbury section, and my business is also in Farmers Branch at Shops at Mustang Station. I am a dentist, and I own a small dental clinic, and I am a captain in the United States Army. I serve and support our troops, and I am, like I mentioned, a resident here as well. I joined the Farmers Branch Chamber 2 years ago and have thoroughly enjoyed the experience of being part of this business community. Since I've been a member, my business has grown. By my calculations, about 15%, 14.5% year over year. And the numbers are great and all, but I believe that for me to have opened a business after COVID and successfully stay in business and still keep growing are my key indicators of success. Seeing Cedar Creek close down, I've got to know the owner as well, made me realize the need to support a lot of these small businesses. I can either shop at Whole Foods and pay the parent company Amazon, or I can shop at Cox Farms, who has great produce, by the way. I have enjoyed meeting our community leaders, and it's great that I have personally known, a lot of you, and Mayor Lynn, and I do feel valued by the city, the chamber, and the entire Farmers Branch business community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Heather Davila.
Hi, my name is Heather Davila, 2935 Marsan Lane. It's right behind the Branch Church. It's a great neighborhood. I'd like to be brutally honest with the city council. When I first joined the chamber over 2 years ago, I was a little skeptical about this. Was this the right decision for my business? I mean, everybody in the room was a little bit older than me and a little bit less than female. They were all males, which, you know, was great. But I was confused if this would be the right choice for me as a budding entrepreneur. I mean, these guys have been in business as long as I've been alive. I mean, what was I doing? So I made a gamble and I joined the chamber. And the chamber helped my business prosper through relationships. The chamber has the ability to change businesses from a domain name to an actual human being with a story. I remember meeting Rob Bliss for the first time. Have you guys ever met this guy? And knowing a lot about his business, and then you get moved for your money. I'm sure you've heard that already, but the chamber helped me create that relationship with Rob. I learned that business is personal, especially for all the local business owners here in Farmers Branch. And that the more connected we are, the more we relate to one another, the more we all grow. And my business has grown. And I help Rob's business grow. Another way the chambers help my business is with legitimacy. When I was starting out, no one knew me, no one liked me, no one trusted me. But when I came to the chamber, that changed. They gave me a space to show up. They gave me a space to be the leadership coach that I was claiming to be. So when I went to Grace and said, hey, let's get beach balls and throw it at each other to create a networking experience, she went for it. And it gave me that chance to be the leadership coach in that room, also leading trainings and leading to other clients. When I joined the chamber, I only thought about what I would get out of the deal. The gamble was all based on what I could gain, but what I gained was far more than revenue. I'm now part of a community that is actively working toward the prosperity of Farmers Branch. The chambers taught me that we all flourish when we all help each other. I have an entirely new business and life approach. One where it's for the good of everyone and through the connection we make. I gambled on the chamber and I'm glad I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And next up is Rob Bliss.
Good evening. My name is Rob Bliss, and it's an honor to be here. Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. City Manager, and Mr. City Attorney.
Address.
3809 Wooded Creek Drive. Okay, the show begins. I am fired up to be here this evening because of what the chamber has done for my business and my personal life. It is huge. Now I got to refer to my notes. You know, the story begins 2.5 years ago when I moved my business into Farmers Branch, and I live in Wooded Creek. But I was really what I considered a non-participant citizen. I did nothing in Farmers Branch, nothing. And now I'm proud to wear this badge where it says, I live, I work, I play, I eat, and I have fun in Farmers Branch. And I wear this badge every day, and I am honored to be a part of this great city. And Mr. Mayor, with your permission, I have a badge for everyone at the table here, if I could come afterwards.
Absolutely.
Thank you. No, it is such, it is a great city, and the chamber is the one that started this. I go back 2 years ago, moved into the city, and I have these 3 people visit me, Madam President Grace Spees, Alex Segal from 5 Star Ford, and Jesse Casanita from State Farm, board of directors of the chamber. And I was not a chamber fan, did not belong to a chamber. And they came in, Grace came in first, gave me the sales pitch. Alex was with her that day. Alex comes back by himself the next day. And then Jesse comes. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm a sales guy. And I'm saying, you know how we all treat salespeople, they come give the one pitch and then they're out of here. And so I play the game. I'm going to see if they're going to, be there for me. And they were. And so I said, like Heather, I'm going to take a chance. And wow, my business has grown exponentially. I started probably when I was less than 300,000 in sales. I'm going to hit over $1 million this year. And the credit goes to my chamber. The credit goes to the city of Farmers Branch and the people, the community that I have. It is incredible. And I was a non-participant, meaning I did nothing. I didn't belong to the chamber. I didn't do anything at my church. I wasn't in any civil organizations, nothing. I was a small business owner working 80 hours a week. And then the chamber walked into my door. I am so thankful. You know, it's given me the opportunity now to become a part of the community, get to know people like yourselves and the people out here. It's been so important for me. For instance, example, MetroCrest Services. I've never donated anything to nonprofits or whatever. In the last year and a half, because of who they are, what they stand for, and what they've taught me to help other people, you know, I just went there just like a couple of weeks ago with like 10 large garbage bags with all kinds of clothing and thinking how thankful I was for MetroCrest Services of teaching me that. I felt so good that day. I belong to the Farmers Branch Rotary. How did I get there? Grace Spees brought me there. You know, and I had the honor to meet Brother Eddie just in the last 2 years. Every week I'd see him at Rotary and have that opportunity, which I know the community just honors him so much. But wow, I had that opportunity to meet him because my chamber president brought me to a meeting. And I am so thankful. Okay, what else? I got to hurry up. It's 1 minute. Okay. I just joined the recreation center and the natatorium. Right in my wallet here, I've got my card because of these awesome services that the city offers. And my good friend Deborah is the one that's encouraged me along the way. But again, that sense of community, of helping me. Now I'm becoming a part of the community, which I've never have been. And last month I turned 71 years old and been a non-participant for my whole life, except I came to Farmers Branch. So I'm going to end this by saying, I am so thankful for my chamber. I am so thankful for my city and the people I know here, that it's not what you can do for me. It's what I want to be able to do for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council, does anybody have any questions or comments for Grace? Councilman Roman?
Thank you for the presentation, Grace. I'll wait.
You can see why he won Raving Fan of the Year 2 years ago.
Thank you. So if I understand correctly, the performance metrics that apply to the other chamber we just heard from also apply to you. So I kind of wanted to ask you similar questions. I'm going to skim through my questions because you've already answered some of them in your presentation. You told me a little bit about your business visits. I've gone on business visits with you. If you meet with city staff, do those count towards your business meeting count?
No, sir. You guys are a government, not a business.
Okay. You've shared a little bit about you've advocating for local businesses. You've shared, have you been an ombudsman? Will you tell me a little bit about have you helped a business when it comes to permitting?
Yes, we actually had Storehouse Dallas. They're expanding. They do a food pickup at their church every like 1 or 2 Saturdays a month. I know Richard Jackson has helped out with that delivery. So they're expanding to also provide food services, and they had some permitting issues a few years actually just like this last 6 months.
Okay. And then you've shared already a little bit about the business leads that you've provided to the city. Let's see. And you might have covered this in your presentation, but I'm going to ask again because I don't remember. But can you tell me a little bit about how much funding that your chamber gives back to the city of Farmers Branch that gets reinvested?
So
from what we give you?
Oh, 100% of what you give us definitely goes in the city of Farmers Branch. Overall, out of our operating budget, easily 90% of all of our expenses and overhead costs go right back to the city, including our residents who are staff. We do have a few IT services like the chamber software that is not provided by somebody here in Farmers Branch. So with the exception of a few basic expenses, but nearly 90% of our entire budget goes back into the city.
Okay. And then can you quantify a monetary value that you bring to Farmers Branch?
Yes, well, one I think would highlight the, grants that we've been passing along. And I know we've had several others apply for grants, but we have this tangible $88,000 that we've brought externally into the city. Also, again, this is more anecdotal feedback, but I often have residents and even people in our greater business community who will come up to us and say, hey, I saw your video cast of you interviewing that restaurant, and I decided to go to Nuevo Leon and try it out, and they have a new favorite lunch spot. Or they see the chicken wings posted online. So we get a lot of that kind of anecdotal feedback that, while marketing is kind of an intangible, this vague thing, businesses market, but we know that we have a level of influence and credibility that we give our businesses. So we know that there's extra dollars coming in through just that business support.
Okay. And then, one of the things that I value in the partnerships that we have with multiple organizations is the ability to rely on one another when there's a need that we have that someone else might be able to help support us with. I had heard through the grapevine that there was some work that you were talking to the city manager about regarding our connecting a little bit more to the youth. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Ben Williamson had reached out to me. We are looking at, I know that under formal counselor, there was a youth advisory council launched. And he specifically had reached out to us because of our success with youth and students through our Workforce Success Bootcamp. However, after speaking with him and Stacy, our city secretary, later on, they would like to keep that as a separate contract for services and its own separate pool of money. But I haven't heard any more recently, but I assume that's still on the table. Probably just been busy becoming city manager.
I appreciate that. I think that's a key factor to consider as we're considering funding requests. The reliability that we have on partners like you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And then originally you had asked for $50,000 as a funding request. And then at the next council meeting or study session where we discussed this, it had dropped down to 30,000. I'm more so curious about should you have received that additional, or should we decide to grant the additional $20,000 for a total of 50? What were your plans for that?
Well, we also run a slim staff. We've done all of this work with about 1.5 as well. So it does allow us to invest in better staffing in order to support our contract for services and our overall business programs. Additionally, Hayden, you must have Chamber Master because we're also looking at updating our software. It is a little bit outdated. And as you guys know, as technology and people are two of the biggest investments, and right, some other combinations of helping to become a more efficient Chamber of Commerce so that we can better serve.
Okay. All righty. I don't have any other questions. I will just, make a remark that I think for me personally, just from the vote that I have and the seat that I have, I personally support the full funding request of 50,000 that was originally presented, but that's just me, and I'll defer to other council members if they have any questions, comments.
Thank you, Councilman. Is it Councilman Merritt?
Thank you, Grace, for the presentation. Thanks for the support of your members coming to the podium to voice their experiences. Two things. One, you have 55 new members based on a slide that you had in the presentation deck. What period is that from? Is that the beginning of this year, or does it span back over the course of this particular contract?
That was for 2022, and it does account for some attrition.
Okay, thank you. And then subsequently, how many members do you have currently?
We are at 262, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
And also probably 90% of those are all Farmers Branch businesses.
Thank you. Appreciate that clarification. And then you have a tiered strata of membership. Could you
Yes, sir.
explain that just briefly?
Yes, so my board sent me to chamber training in January of 2020, and this was something a lot of chambers are moving towards. So think of it like a gym membership. You can go and you can get your basic equipment, but you could also sign up for hydro massage, tanning, personal training. So we felt like, and we surveyed our members as well, and this was very well discussed through our board, but that somebody could purchase the benefits that they want really makes sense. And so what we did is there's still the basic level, which is pretty much standard across chambers. That's just like benchmark. We all have the same level of benefits there. But we found most people join a chamber for one of two reasons: marketing and community relations, and then also events. So as we go up from there, the gold level adds more marketing, like enhanced logo packages, newsletter visibility, and then on up from there, Gold Plus includes a mini events package. So we just try to make it really simple per our members' request, that they get one invoice and they know they've got a tee box at the golf tournament, they've got a spot, a business in the branch, and that they're very well taken care of, all in one bundle that makes sense. So we felt like it was a lot more effective than simply an employee-based model, because why would a large company who has 250 employees necessarily need to pay more for the same value and the same basic benefits as someone who only has 5 to 10? So it's very much how cities are operated. I think it's called the Fair Share program. And there are many chambers who are very pro fair share, but there are many who are also very pro tiered. And as someone with a strong background in business and sales, for me, having a very clear value proposition was very important.
One other question is, obviously the contract that we have as a city with the chamber doesn't include our own membership. So these are two separate items. So how much did the city pay as a member attending events over the course of the last year, or if you can use that number, or over the course of the contract?
You'll have a platinum membership of $2,500, and the other two events that you invested in last year included the prayer breakfast and business in the branch, which I believe totaled about another $2,500 to $3,000.
Thank you, Grace. Appreciate your answers.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Grace, thank you. We appreciate your efforts too.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good evening.
All right, so next up is item K5, consider adopting ordinance 3802, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 54, peddlers and solicitors of the City of Farmers Branch, and take appropriate action. Chief McCoy.
Somebody have to tell me where mine went.
Okay.
All the files
Take
that
your
went
time.
in. Right there. All I've got is the non-promise. No, it's not actually. So.
I'll write it down and I'm gonna laminate it so it'll be in my thing every time so I can read it, because I didn't say that. Just when you read it. Then I didn't say it, so.
I don't see it.
I promise I'll not use that.
That's the source station.
Just hear that. How far from the
You're with that.
It's the good thing, but it's no farther than that.
On my desktop.
Congratulations.
Is it any of these? Anybody? Come up with stories to tell.
Feel free to.
Don't have any jokes.
Jeff, do you have that?
It's
not in the folder.
I just moved a copy in there for you. Refresh that folder.
You did?
I just moved one in. It's got a really long file name, but I just moved it in there.
This one?
Oh,
The one with the long,
yeah.
maybe.
Find it. There we go.
Yeah.
I think he's got it.
It's a PDF, so you're gonna have to run it as a show. You can get it set up. There you go. Page display. That works. Full screen work. Good, you're getting full screen. Sorry.
Hey, is there anything?
There you go.
This one?
Yeah. Oh, here, you can compare those to it. There you go.
That works. All right. Apologize for the technical difficulties, Mayor and Council. My name is Kevin McCoy. I'm your Chief of Police. Grace is already a tough act to follow. Add technical difficulties to it, and it gets a little more challenging. Tonight, what I'm bringing to you for consideration is a change in our solicitation ordinance to update it and to make it comply with the current law requirements and make it a little more enforceable on our part. There are some provisions of our previous ordinance that have been ruled unconstitutional, and the ordinance was not currently enforceable in some areas. As I was receiving complaints after starting my job here and talking to some of the officers and hearing some of the citizen complaints about solicitors being in medians and in construction areas, and began to review our ordinance, realized that there were some issues with the way our current ordinance was written, and began the process of trying to revise that ordinance and working with our legal team to come up with a new proposal, which is what you've seen and what we're presenting here tonight. This should help with our officers being able to more effectively enforce the ordinance and be able to provide another layer of safety for our citizens, for people traveling on our roadways, and allow our businesses to conduct business in a lawful way, but also protect people's First Amendment rights to conduct solicitations for charitable organizations. So you see some of that on the screen. There are some language challenges that we had in dealing with the current ordinance that we've had to deal with. And so what you'll notice in the ordinance is the part that deals specifically with obtaining a permit has been removed. All of the legal challenges regarding solicitation ordinance that we've seen around the country that have made it to the court level, some of which have made it to very high levels of federal courts, have challenged First Amendment issues as they dealt specifically with interfering with people's rights to free speech under the First Amendment, conducting solicitation for charitable organizations. And so in reviewing the ordinance and going and looking at ordinances that exist in other cities around us and in the area, the better approach seemed to be to remove permitting from the ordinance and focus on the enforcement part of the ordinance. And so that's what you see presented in front of you. A lot of the original ordinance has been struck, and significant enhancements have been made to the second half of the ordinance, which has to do with the enforcement half of the ordinance. You'll see some big changes that we made have to deal with expanding the authority of officers, changing the time frames to be a little more defined. We added another hour to the prohibited times, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., prohibited Sundays completely. Any federal holiday is now prohibited by the ordinance. Some other restrictions that we've added in there that we've pulled based on complaints and reviewing some other city ordinances is protecting people, our citizens, and their ability to be safe or feel safe when they're working in areas where heightened public safety, where your security is at a heightened risk, working at an ATM machine, coming and going from a gas station or pumping gas at your car, public transportation areas, parking garages, areas where people tend to feel vulnerable, especially when they're approached by people who are asking for something, to purchase something, asking to give something or provide something. And so this ordinance deals a lot with protecting people in areas where they have that heightened degree of public safety. The areas I mentioned, plus car washes are in there, ride share stops, now that those are much bigger issues to deal with. And we've worked on some other issues. If you notice around town, there's been an increase, not just in our city, but in many cities around us, with solicitation occurring in the public roadways, specifically on medians and rights of way that adjoin major roadways, areas of construction. I think right here down the street at Valley View and 35 is a great one. Very congested space, lots of confusion for drivers who are not even those that are familiar with driving through this area as they go through and navigate the construction and TxDOT moving barriers. The last thing that we want our citizens and people driving to our city have to deal with is somebody standing in the roadway for whatever purpose, soliciting, trying to sell something. It creates confusion. It creates heightened safety concerns. So the ordinance as amended would prohibit that solicitation in areas where we've deemed to be high crash locations. We've named, I think in the ordinance has 16 of them based on research over the last 5 years, where we've had a significant increase in crashes in signalized intersections where people are distracted and already having a hard time focusing on what's going on in the intersection, throwing somebody in the median. And I witnessed one just a couple of weeks ago with somebody standing on a very narrow median between 2 lanes of divided roadway on Josie, and people slowing and hitting their brakes, blowing their horn, not knowing if he was going to step out into traffic while he was trying to sell his goods to passing motorists at the intersection. So this ordinance deals with that from a safety standpoint, both for the person who's in the roadway and for citizens who are traveling the roadway, so they're not distracted by the activities that are taking place. The construction zones have been mentioned in there. And then we've also added in some language to the ordinance that allows for our residents and businesses to place no solicitation signs of all types and shapes and sizes, kind you can buy at the store to kind you can make it your own, the ones that you can buy from charitable organizations. As long as it's posted in a conspicuous place that somebody conducting solicitation at your residence or at your business can see it when they approach it, and they bypass that, assuming they're not engaged in a constitutionally protected activity, then it would be enforceable as a violation on site. And would give our officers the ability to then respond to those calls, and the ordinance violation would have occurred when they bypassed the sign. And we were very intentional in the language of the ordinance not to be specific in size of lettering or how it has to be displayed, only that you have to put something with language that most people would recognize: no soliciting, no solicitation, no handbills. And there's some language to that in the ordinance as well. If you're putting handbills on doors and it's posted, is also would be a violation of ordinance. To then bypass that sign, hang a handbill on the door, that violation would be on the business, on the company that's being represented, that allowed that flyer to then be added to your door. And again, it takes the impetus a little bit off of the enforcement of the permitting side. And again, the biggest challenge of the permitting side is the constitutional aspect of it, because it requires somebody makes a judgment call. Is this a business that's a charitable business, or is this a for-profit business? And in the case law where we've seen that challenge is when a city gets it wrong and they determine that some group, particularly the case law has centered around religious groups and different sects that have asked for permits and have been denied and told they're not charitable organizations, filing lawsuits against cities, and then cities losing that. And the permitting part is always the challenging part. And I think it's difficult focusing on the front part of the ordinance, and we should be focusing on the part of the ordinance that protects our citizens, is keeping people safe in their homes, keeping people safe when they're traversing our streets and driving on our sidewalks. And that's what this ordinance is designed to do, is put the focus on the part that makes it a little bit easier for us to protect our citizens, for us to protect our motoring public. And that's pretty much what's presented here. Some examples of some signs, but again, the language just has to be similar. It has to be something that people would recognize as something that is not allowed, where solicitation would not be allowed. Well, now I'll answer questions.
Thank you, Chief. I do have a question real quick, and this is with respect to HOAs. There are some HOAs where there's only a single point of entry that's not gated. And if an HOA has a no soliciting sign at the entry, does that cover all of the homes within that HOA? Or does each home need to have their own sign?
So in my understanding of the ordinance and the way it would be deemed legally, it would require posting at your individual residence unless it was a controlled access residential area. If it's controlled by a gate, you put it at the entrance, then that applies to everything that's behind the controlled access area. The attorneys can give clarification if the understanding is wrong, but the way the ordinance is written would be posted at your place of business or your residence conspicuously so that somebody could see it. That way there's no confusion over, well, I didn't come in this way, or I was looking to the right when I drove in the gate and I didn't see it. If it's posted and they move past it and then engage in solicitation of the homeowner and are told, hey, we have a sign that says you can't solicit here, it's a prima facie violation of the ordinance.
Okay. And if a resident lived in an HOA that was not gated but had multiple points of entry?
Same. That I'm still going to say for the ordinance to be enforceable and to be clear on the legal side, it needs to be posted at each
resident.
Right. But
Okay.
notice is given by that homeowner that they individually do not desire solicitation.
Okay. And that is true for anybody trying to sell something as well as a charitable group trying to raise money.
For most of them now, the permitting issues deal with, there is constitutionally protected activity that we as a city cannot restrict. And solicitation by people running for office is a good example. People going to people's doors and asking for votes or talking about political agendas. Those are protected activities. There are some religious organizations that are protected where they're allowed to go and conduct solicitation. And that's the part, again, with the permitting that we're trying to get out of the gray area by saying this is charitable, but this is not. We're making it more enforceable on the ag side. If you're at somebody's house and your intent is to conduct any type of business transaction, that would be prohibited by ordinance.
Okay. And what should residents do if they're driving through the city and they see somebody soliciting in the roadway, like standing in the middle?
So what we'll engage in is a little bit of a media campaign utilizing our social media platforms, and then we'll put information out through the information that Jeff Brady puts out to the city so that people will have access to the knowledge. And like any other violation of law or any other ordinance violation, we're going to tell people, call dispatch, call it into 911 to the center. They'll put in a call for service and we'll send an officer to the location. And again, it's a safety issue. It's a safety for the motorist, safety issue for the person standing in the roadway. So we want to respond to that call as soon as we get it and take enforcement action. For solicitation intersection, with most things like that, we're going to notify them of the ordinance and that they're violating it and asking them to move first before we move straight to enforcement action. And then if they return, if they refuse, then we would move back in and engage enforcement.
Very good. Council, any questions for the chief? Councilman Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. I've been looking forward to this discussion. With regard to the permitting process, if I understand what we do today, we're requiring solicitors to come to the police station and apply for a permit. Is that right?
It was previously that way. It has now been moved to City Hall.
Moved to City Hall.
Yes,
But that process, though, implies that the city has done some level of due diligence in vetting this solicitor. So a resident might think that if they've got a permit, they're approved by the city, right? That's problematic.
Correct. In the original ordinance, it was actually written that way, that we would conduct a background check. But again, the law has shifted on that, and that we are no longer allowed by statute to conduct a criminal history check utilizing the state's criminal history system. That's a violation of the state rules. And so we can no longer do that. So
Okay.
you're relying on, again, somebody turns in a piece of paper and says, no, I'm not a felon. And there really is no background check that occurs, again, kind of creating that false sense of security that I think you're
Right.
speaking to when somebody comes to the door, it says permit issued by the city of Farmers Branch.
So under the new ordinance that is written to be updated and comply with those laws, there's no requirement for the solicitor to come to City Hall and let us know they're here soliciting, right?
That is correct.
And maybe this is more of a question for Pete, but is there a problem with at least requiring them to register with the city? There's no validation process. There's no vetting. It's just simply us knowing who's in our city, going door to door, looking to exchange product or service for money.
There's nothing unlawful about requiring a commercial solicitor to register with the city.
Mhm.
And the problem is some of those who are not really commercial solicitors, they may be religious, may be political speech, may be religious, and then buy my book. So that's the issue that the chief was mentioning about permits and registration, because it still gives a false sense of security that I've registered with the city. Oh, then you must be okay.
Understood.
But it is nice to know ahead of time. But the ones that don't want us to know are not going to bother to tell us. So
Right.
and that's the thing is those who may be legitimate businesses who have people out there would notify us. It's the ones that don't notify us where we may have the issues.
Well, and then we're having to be reactive because then maybe a homeowner has a problem or an issue with a solicitor
Right.
at their door. I just feel a sense or a need to know who's coming in our city and going door to door on a commercial basis like that. If we can include some language like that, if that's a possibility administratively, I know that, you know, there's some responsibility on the city to follow through on that, but if something should happen out there between a commercial solicitor and a resident, then we at least know, or we have record perhaps, of who was in our city. And if they didn't ID themselves through a process like that with our city, then they would be in violation.
So back to your original question. Yes, we can do that. What's the registration? Is it just the name of the company? Is it the individuals who are going to go out and go door to door? And what kind of information do we get about the company?
Right.
And then we've got the administrative staff costs of maintaining this registration. Somebody came and said they were registered with the city. Well, I've got to look it up, see if they are. And so you're sliding back into the permitting procedure. So
I realize that. At least if they're legitimate, they're going to come to City Hall and register. If they're legitimate, they're going to look at our website or call the city and say, hey, I want to come, you know, sell widgets in Farmers Branch. Is there a process or a permit required? Just simply knowing who's here is all I'm suggesting. The other thing is that I didn't see an ID requirement in our ordinance. So did I miss that somewhere?
There's not. And
Okay.
what we're trying to do, if I could clarify that just a little bit, is what we're trying to do for our citizens is remove the gray area. And
Right.
when you get back into permitting, and I think what you're hearing from the city attorney is it immediately goes back into gray area, and not just gray area for the citizens, but gray area for the officers when it comes to enforcement, because now you're like, okay, they obtained a permit, so they must be a legitimate business. And now you get citizens saying, so can they come to my door now? Or does my no solicitation sign apply to them, or do they not? Or is this a legitimate charitable organization and the city granted them a permit because they're now allowed to solicit and, you know, and come they're a church organization, they're allowed to do that. And so what we were trying to do, and you've seen a lot of cities in the Metroplex have gone this route. Carrollton has done this, Plano has done this, Irving's in the process of doing this, to put the focus on making the enforcement clearer for the citizens, to be able to tell the citizens what's allowed and what's not allowed, so they know when to call the police and when not to. And when officers show up on the scene, to take any confusion about, now do I reach back out to the city and say, is this a valid permit? Was this the person listed on the permit? What was the period of the permit? We can go straight to, you went to the door, tried to sell them X product widget. They have a sign that's posted. You were told that they were not interested in your business, that you were not allowed to be there by a sign posted. You can take action on that on its
Right.
face. So we were just trying to clear the gray area, but as always, the council has the prerogative to add into the ordinance should they choose to do so.
Yeah, I get it. And I think, so there's two different thoughts I have around this. One was just at least notifying the city who you are. It's a form. If that's something that we can't do, shouldn't do, and we're recommended by the city attorney to not do it, I understand. The other would be requiring solicitors in our city, again, for commercial purposes, to carry some form of ID, a business card with their name and number, or point of contact, again, so we know who's in our city, and residents can at least have, they can ask for that, and if they don't have it or don't provide it, the resident can say, well, you're supposed to have that.
I
according to
think
code.
unless the city attorney says otherwise, I think that's an easy add to the ordinance that anybody conducting
And
solicitation.
again, if they're legitimate,
carry out a-
they're gonna come to City Hall or call us, and they're gonna wanna know what our rules are around this. Whether or not we require them to register or fill out a form.
Yeah, we'll post it on the police page. Most businesses conducting solicitation know to go to police department web pages.
Okay,
Because that's normally where it's posted, whether or not you need to have a permit or what the requirements are. So,
okay,
and if we add that provision to the ordinance requiring identification, that no permit is required, but whoever's conducting solicitation needs to abide by these rules and carry identification.
okay, very
if-
good.
If that's lawful, I would have to ask the attorneys on that.
All right. And so the last,
We can do that.
okay, I think it would help, at least to know that these solicitors are required to carry some form of ID that identifies them with their company, and would be able to leave that behind with the resident. Then my last thought is, and this is not my idea, I stole this from Coppell. If you could go back to the signage slide. So I saw just today or yesterday, the Citizens on Patrol program in Coppell has been charged with this program of, I guess, designing and buying these signs, and then citizens can purchase a sign for their front yard. And I thought it was a great idea. I don't know if there's been discussion around that, but it probably would be a great part of the marketing campaign with our new ordinance to have these signs available, let our COPs, engage in that. Maybe it provides some level of funding, but
Dr. Don, it actually is a conversation that
I can't.
that has occurred.
Hey, Don.
But
welcome.
I saw that same post and thought it was ironic that they had posted that just prior to this discussion. And the sign and the picture up here that I've tried to gray out so not to give credit to any other city or organization actually came from the Carrollton Citizen Police Academy Alumni Association,
Okay.
which is a sign that they post and they sell as a fundraiser for their organization. So Coppell has also done
Okay.
that same thing. And I've mentioned it to our volunteers as a potential fundraising opportunity for their
Great.
group.
Not an ordinance thing tonight, but I think having some consistent form of notice from house to house like this makes it really easy for the solicitor to keep walking.
Sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Merritt.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for the presentation. I want to follow up on a comment that you made. You were talking about the exceptions that relate to political activity. I didn't see an exceptions section in the ordinance. Is it documented elsewhere or referenced in this? In reading this document, I could see where someone reading about solicitors might not be able to discern the differences that were referenced earlier about a political activity or what was allowed. So
I missed the first part of your question, but we have a definition section in there.
It's one of the definitions, but
Yeah.
but I don't believe the definition section referenced the exception for elections or political activity.
But we're not requiring any permit.
Right.
Or
It speaks to what sales is, to what person conducting sales or group or corporations that receive, assign, or do that type of activity. So again, when you get into permit, now you're getting into the back and forth, and that's
Yeah, I think I'm just clarifying that political activity by your own admission, chief, was an allowable activity.
correct
And so therefore,
by the
I
court.
was looking
I
for,
didn't make the rule.
no, I
Makes the
understand,
courts,
but
yes.
and maybe I'm looking more at Pete for that at least it's referenced in there.
I'm sorry, I was busy working on the first exception. I'm sorry, go ahead, say again.
So I want to make sure that we at least allow for the definition that solicitation for a political activity, we've all campaigned. And so, and on Sunday, and Terry, I know you've done this, we've all done it. You show up on Sunday, am I a solicitor? By definition, it's not called out in the particular ordinance that we have in front of us. And I think that's all I'm looking for. That by definition, that's an allowed use.
Something to the effect that this ordinance does not apply to solicitations involving religious or political purposes.
I think that would, if
they're
you're
not-
comfortable with that verbiage, I'm
Or
comfortable with that
protected
verbiage because you have to defend it. So I'm fine with that. Chief, I have another question.
Yes, sir.
And we do talk about it sort of, it was already present in my mind before Richard brought it up. But you also have an inventory of individual residents who have applied and suggested that their homes are on a no solicitation list. Is that something you're going to continue to manage? Because you made reference earlier that typically solicitors go through the police department to understand what residents and what the ordinance are regarding that. So is that something you will maintain going forward? Or how do you?
So if we have a no solicitation list, I'm not aware of it. That to me sounds more like in the realm of criminal trespass, where you give notice that somebody's not allowed to do something. And again, back to the discussion with the mayor, to keep it simple and remove the gray area, I would keep it focused on you, the homeowner, business owner, provide notice through signage. But again, back into maintaining from the officer standpoint, if I'm the officer who's responding to that call and knowing there's a database that has to be maintained that I have to go search, that adds a layer of difficulty to it. So but my initial answer would be no.
You've answered the question, sir. I appreciate you've answered the question. And I think that's part of the education process that you've already alluded to. That would be part of the communication that would come from not only the city, but from the police department as well. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I think he hasn't.
Okay, all right. Councilman Roman.
Hi, Chief. I have a question, maybe more so for you, Pete. So I was looking at, I think it's section 54-4E. So at the end of that sentence, well, or that paragraph, I guess the substance of that paragraph is the no solicitation sign. The last sentence says such signage shall not restrict non-personal commercial sales activities. Does that mean that it's business to business is acceptable and signage would not restrict that?
Means business is okay.
Right.
Correct. Or somebody that you have a business relationship with already that is coming to conduct further solicitation related to a business arrangement that you already have with a company.
Okay. Does this ordinance prohibit somebody from, let's say I've got a sign that says no solicitation and they're like, well, I just won't knock on the door. I'll just leave all my stuff. I'll leave a business card. I'll leave something on their door, a door hanger.
That is in the ordinance, the handbills and flyers. If it's posted in a conspicuous place and you leave material hanging on the door or on the doorknob handle, again, it's a violation of the ordinance. The violation would go to the company that the handbill represents. that would be the violator of the ordinance by leaving it when the solicitation sign is posted. And normally that's like with the other stuff, it's an education thing. It's calling back to the company and saying, by ordinance, we're referring to the website where it's posted, saying that you are not allowed to leave this on any houses where solicitation signs are posted.
Okay.
You need to refrain from any future, and then we'll go back. And honestly, in a previous organization dealing with the signs, that was managed by the volunteer group who kept a list of all the people that had violated the no solicitation signs, and then would provide it to officers when we got repeat calls.
Okay. So the reaction to seeing a solicitor is not going to change. A resident should still call the police if they see somebody who they suspect is a solicitor. And then the police will come and they will have to observe that alleged solicitor going to someone's door who's got a sign, going and doing what appears to be soliciting.
So two answers, and I'm not sure. If it's you, the resident, and your house is posted that you have a no solicitation sign posted, I would say yes. If your question is, if I see somebody walking down the street that I think is a solicitor, should I call? My answer would be no, because at that point they haven't violated the ordinance. Not until they go to a house where it's clearly posted, where that resident has said they do not want solicitation, that's when it becomes a violation. So if it's you,
But
yes.
if he goes to the neighbor's house and is knocking on the door and he has no solicitor sign up, can the neighbor call and say, hey, there's a guy?
You could call and the officer could tell them that they couldn't do it. You just couldn't, we wouldn't be able to enforce that without the complainant, the homeowner complainant. We wouldn't be able to cite on that. We would just tell them that they're violating the ordinance.
I see. So you would only be able to cite them if an officer personally observed that behavior.
Not necessarily. We could cite them off of the testimony of the complainant,
Okay.
the citizen that says, I have a sign posted, the officer sees it, they came to my door. It would be like we would take a complaint for any other violation where the homeowner would say, I have it posted, they came to my door, tried to sell me stuff. I didn't want them to be here. That's a violation of the ordinance. So you could cite based off of that, and the resident would be the complainant, the officer would issue the citation.
Okay. And then I had a similar suggestion to Councilmember Jackson, but I like his idea better, so I won't even mention it. I think the COP should certainly try and raise some funds with the idea you suggested. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Very good. Councilman Bear? Anything? Okay. Chief, thank you very much. This item is marked for action. Are we in a position to?
Yeah, if you get a motion, a second to adopt the ordinance, and then
As-
I'll suggest the amendment.
Okay. So, this, as I said, is marked for action. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 3802 with the modifications pursuant to the city attorney.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second by Councilwoman Bennett.
Council members, I recommend that you include the following. Sorry. Recommend you include the following. Section 54-4 be amended to include, it shall be unlawful for any person to engage in a commercial solicitation without having a driver's license, state or federal identification card, or other form of identification in their immediate possession. The other item is to add to section 54.-3, which can, I'm sorry, 54-4, 54-4, which has a list of prohibitions. We can add a section that indicates that the ordinance does not apply. Actually, no, I was right. 54-3, because it tells you about appellation of government agency. It says it doesn't apply to federal, state, local government, or public utility employees. We can add to that it also does not apply to those persons engaged in solicitations for religious, political, or other constitutionally protected activities. Thumbs up from the chief. So.
All right. So if you would please indicate your vote now. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Okay, next up is item K6. Consider approving a resolution number 2023-075 authorizing the purchase and replacement desktops, laptops, and associated accessories from Dell Marketing LP in the amount of $239,000, utilizing the State of Texas Department of Information Resources contract pricing, and take appropriate action.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I'm Steven Schweigert. I'm the Technical Operations Manager for the IT Department. And I'm going to pull up my presentation here. Hopefully y'all can see that. Okay. So this is for Resolution 2023-075. It's for our 2023 PC refresh. So we're seeking approximately $239,000. We'll get into that more. So next slide. So we do a phased approach every year. So depending on what type of device it is, depends on how many years we replace it. So if it's a laptop, it's 4 years because it gets banged around a little bit. If it's a desktop, it's 5. And then MDCs are 5 as well. And that's, I'll get into what an MDC is. There's a lot of acronyms in IT, as y'all know. We're doing approximately 50 desktops, 55 laptops, and 28 MDCs. And then everything that goes along with those, like bags, speaker bars, monitors, all the peripherals. So MDC, it's basically a mobile data computer. It goes in all the police vehicles and the fire apparatuses. We have a couple in public works and then anywhere that's in a rugged environment. So water resistant, dust resistant, shock resistant, touchscreen. We do POC those. We had one in, I believe, in our lieutenant's vehicle, and found out this one has a better profile, so better field of view, so better officer safety. Sorry. A little more expensive, and that's kind of why we're here today, because it's put us over that threshold. Physical impact, like I said, it came in. You look in the notes, 238,000. We're seeking 239, so right on point with what we budgeted last year. And then I'll open it up for questions.
Councilmember David.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Steve.
Yes, sir.
I had this conversation with Ben and during a one-on-one. Help me understand why we have a 5-year window on an MDC. That seems, if it's in rugged environment,
Right.
it would seem like it might have a shorter lifespan. I think that might be something to consider going forward.
Okay.
Help me understand why you arrived at a 5-year window for that.
So over the last 10 years, we've kind of fluctuated that. So it used to be 3 years when we had Panasonic Toughbooks, but they're twice the cost. Then we went to GTAC and certainly could not get 5 years out of them. And then we eventually went to Dell's, and they're just built a lot better. The ones we're replacing now, they've been in the field for roughly 5 years. When we replaced Fires 2 years ago, they were all GTACs and they couldn't make it to 5 years. So we elected to go ahead and make that jump. So, and the other side of it too is, and especially like on the desktop side, you know, the Intel processors, they haven't changed a lot over the years. So the generations keep going, they keep getting a little faster, adding more thread count. But overall, for what we're doing on these machines, a solid state and an i5 processor is probably more than you'll ever need. So.
Yeah, I wasn't too worried about desktops and the laptops.
Yeah, sure.
But more looking at those rugged opportunities where they are getting used heavily in a day-to-day, you know, they need to work.
That's right.
And so therefore, I think the replacement window should be reviewed again. And as you've already stated, we've vacillated from 3 to 5.
Sure.
4 seems like going forward, we don't have to do it in this particular window. It might be something going forward that the city manager's office would denote that the next batch that we buy of these might work. Hello, Mark.
Yeah, sure.
I just want to add to that. This is Mark Samuels, Director of Innovation and Technology. I always slip. One thing I will tell you is that these are built to last, according to the manufacturer, 5 years. But I assure you that public safety, we will monitor that closely. And if they start to have a high failure rate, we are not going to not replace them sooner. So I just want to rest assured that they will let us know.
I understand.
If there's an issue, we will modify that.
I assume that these 50 or so that we're buying, maybe 28 that we're going to buy, will last several years.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. So I was just looking ahead, thinking that we might need to minimize that window. But you've also replied here that we will address that
absolutely
in the event that these go down. So, and I trusted you guys to make that happen anyway, but that just caught my eye when I was looking at that.
No, it's a good point because it is in a rough environment and they're used 24 hours a day. So,
Correct.
right. So that is a valid point to make. And I just want to make it clear that we are optimistic that the new Dells will last, but if they do not, we will not hesitate to come back and replace those sooner.
Understood. Thank you both.
One other point I'll make is we leave them docked in most of the vehicles as well, so they're not getting moved around quite as much as before. So, thank you.
Councilman Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Stephen. Just to piggyback on Councilman Merritt's question, is there some type of warranty or insurance that comes with these laptops, like an Apple Care package or Geek Squad? Something
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't buy any hardware without a warranty. It's
Okay.
one of the reasons why we stuck with Dell. So when we do buy them on 5 years or 4 years, that comes with that same amount of year in warranty.
Okay.
And so we try to get ahead of them the year before because we know we're coming off warranty. And so, yeah.
Okay, very good. And then I see we're purchasing 55 laptops, 50 desktops, and 28 of the MDCs. How many of those do you know offhand we're actually going to use, or are we ordering some extras to have for any reason?
A few of these will be extra.
Okay.
But for the majority of them, they're accounted for.
Okay.
So, and they'll be going to various locations, whether it's a kiosk or I think 10 of these PCs will go to police and then different departments.
So the extras are intended for additional personnel or to replace if one gets broken and it has to go out for warranty work or something. And
That's correct.
That's
And
the
that's part of
purpose.
the MDC plan as well.
Okay.
We always have 2 spares in rotation for nights and weekends because we're not a 24/7 shop, so to speak.
Gotcha. Very good. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, thank
Mayor.
you.
Anybody else? I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
So the equipment that's being replaced, what's happening with that? Salvage value?
Very first thing we do is pull the hard drives. We're going to destroy those, especially for CGIS on the police side. And then the rest we recycle and get a certificate of destruction.
Okay.
So,
All righty. Thank you. This item is marked for action, so
Mayor, if it's appropriate, I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-075 as presented.
very good. A motion?
Okay, oh,
Second.
second that motion.
There you go.
I was tired, sorry.
Okay. Motion and a second. Please indicate your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We did not have a study session this evening I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. Executive session. So with that, I will move to adjourn our meeting at 8:52.